Yo, 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 what it is? I'm Mike Hankins here in the studio, and we're coming to you live with Kostya Kimlat. Am I pronouncing it right?
It is Kostya.
Okay, I wasn't sure. He's the man here. He's about to join us. It's going to be awesome. I hope you're all ready for an awesome lecture. It's going to be amazing. Kostya, are you ready?
I am very much ready.
Awesome,
It is
man.
Kostya.
Where are you from? Tell us, man.
I'm from Ukraine.
Oh, not from Baltimore? Yo, that's where I'm from. Baltimore dogs, we in the house, know what I'm saying?
I do not understand what you are saying.
Oh, it's all right, man. We got a real pro. We're going to have a good time, man. I'm so sorry. We're going to have a good time, man. We're
This
going to go
Calvin
down.
Klein you touch is not good for you.
Okay, we don't touch. But you ready? You ready to do some magic for us, yo?
I'm ready for the
It's going to be amazing, bro.
It is amazing, bro.
What else are you going to do for us?
I will teach 3 things.
Oh, yeah?
Number 1, magic.
Okay.
Number 2, vodka.
Yes.
Number 3, Kostya.
Oh, this is going to be exciting, yo. This is going to be amazing, man. You can tell by the way he dresses. This guy's a real professional, y'all. He's coming to you live from the studio, man. You excited?
I think something not right here.
Should we work on the accent?
Maybe.
Okay, y'all. Well, why don't we stall over and then it'll be awesome. You ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. All right.
This looks better. This
Good.
looks better.
I'm glad I'm back to normal.
For those of you know who Kostya Kimlat is, he is world-renowned with a deck of cards. But he's also world-renowned with his business practices, as he has a company of magicians that he runs in Orlando. And he's going to talk about that amongst a lot of other things this evening. So please welcome the one and only Kostya Kimlat. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's great to be here in the studio. We have Mike here, we have our studio audience, and most importantly, we have you. We have the live viewer here. And so I'm really excited to share with you all the things that I've been doing for the last 18 years as a professional magician. You know, my goal for today is to really share with you and to inspire you and to challenge you to do something that you may not have done before. And I don't know if you're watching this, if you are a professional magician, if you're a part-time magician, if you're a full-time pro, but my job is to challenge you to do something difficult, to do something that you haven't done before. And I hope that if you're someone who does this as a hobby for fun, that you'll find something that inspires you, something that maybe one day when you have the opportunity to perform, then you'll feel like, oh yes, I need to go back to this lecture, that's where the knowledge is. And if you're someone who already does magic full-time, then I certainly hope that you've got your notes, you got your paper and pen ready, and we're going to get started. So you ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. You guys ready as well?
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. So, you know, they say that there's many rooms in the house of magic. And when you look at it, this is a little house. That's where I live. And there's rooms available. You know, if I were to call up any of my friends right now, my friends do all kinds of magic, from comedy and illusions to stage. You know, the beautiful thing is that magicians perform professionally at hundreds of venues. And the key is discovering which one of these fits you best. You know, which one of these do you excel at the most? And once you learn that, you can create a market for yourself. Now, we all start out as magicians for all occasion. You know, we begin doing this because it's fun, and we like to make people laugh, and we like to make people smile. And some of us go on to do this professionally because we know that our magic can make an impact. For some, magic is an art. For others, it's a craft. And for some, it's a trade. You know, we begin because magic is a mystery, and it's a challenge. And really, for a lot of us, it's a love. I know that there's many hobbyists and there's many professionals, but what really unites us is a passion to grow, a passion to learn, and a passion to be better. Now, today I'm going to focus on the 2 areas of magic that I've been doing for now 18 years, close-up magic and stage magic. And I'm going to share with you the places where I perform professionally, and these are the types of venues that we're going to cover. So when you hear me talk about close-up magic, I'm talking about it particularly in these venues. I created C Magic Live, and although most magicians know me for the products that I've put out, Erotd and Warning, this is what I get to do full time. I get to perform at sports arenas and get to do a dinner show for the last 5 years in Orlando, Florida. I do banquet shows, close-up magic. We've been doing a lot of television, which I'll talk about today. And really, it's my passion to do close-up magic. With a pack of playing cards, I love to make people smile and laugh. It's a joy. Now, no matter which room of magic or which room in the house of magic that you are in, my goal is to share with you practical secrets. And these are meant to help you be a better performer no matter which room it is that you're in. So thank you once again for joining me. Now, I want to tell you that I don't think we should be in competition. There is more work to go around than there are qualified magicians to do it. Now think about that. There's more work to go around than there are qualified magicians to do it. Right? There's so many other people performing, and oftentimes in a small city, when another magician will get a gig, the performers will say, oh man, he took a part of the pie. But what I've been doing for the last few years is creating a company that's been creating opportunities for magicians around the world, and my goal has been to make the pie bigger. I really think it's a huge world out there, and we need to make the marketplace bigger, and we need to help it by doing good magic. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this lecture today. You know, there's lots of maybe, there's TV shows that'll make you an overnight sensation, but I'm all about paying your dues and putting in the work. And I've been doing that for a long time, and the reason that I became a professional is because I remember as a teenager, I looked around, and I saw that there were magicians who were doing really simple, really basic magic, but they were doing like 5, 6 parties a weekend. And they were making a killing doing magic full time, but their magic wasn't that good. And then there were my other friends whose magic was spectacular. They were amazing technicians, but they were struggling, they were starving. And that's when I realized that being a good magician and being a successful magician are two different things. It's two different skill sets. Now, I spent 10 years lecturing to magicians about tricks and about techniques and about psychology and approach. So I would do half the year lectures and half the year doing corporate work in Orlando and around the US. And it was amazing. I got to meet so many incredible magicians, many of whom are watching this now. So it's amazing what a world we live in. But 5 years ago, I had this opportunity to speak to 150 restaurant owners, all in one room, and to pitch them on the idea of using magicians in all of their restaurants nationwide. And this took me on a whole different journey, and I got to talk to hundreds of magicians around the country. What I realized is that as magicians, we have enough tricks. You have enough tricks. What magicians really need is personal and professional growth and development. We all need to grow, and we all need to become better. That's the only way we're going to elevate the art of magic. Now, I'll give you an interesting analogy. There's a man named Elon Musk, an inventor of SpaceX and owns the Tesla cars. And recently, he gave away the patents that Tesla puts out on their electric batteries in their cars. That's kind of something interesting. I'll show you a blog post that he had up there. He says that at Tesla, we felt compelled to create patents out of concern that the big car companies would copy our technology and use their massive manufacturing, sales, and marketing power to overwhelm Tesla. We couldn't have been more wrong. The unfortunate reality is the opposite. Electric car programs at the major manufacturers are small to non-existent. They make up less than 1% of the total vehicle sales. So this is something interesting. He says, given that annual vehicle production is 100 million and 2 billion cars around the world, it's impossible for them to build electric cars fast enough to address the carbon crisis. By the same token, it means the market is enormous. And this is the best part. He says, our true competition is not the small trickle of non-Tesla electric cars being produced, but rather the enormous flood of gasoline cars that are pouring out of the world's factories every single day. So think about that. Right? And how does this relate to magic? Well, what I've learned in working with professionals around the country is that we're not in competition either. My competition isn't the good and great professionals that are out there, the colleagues that I work with, not at all. The real competition we have is boring magic, is bad magic. That's the real problem. And so by helping magicians elevate to the next level, we get to help the marketplace. We get to raise the level of magic. We get to educate the consumer. So now how do we do that? How do we do that as a group, all of us here, you watching, as all of us roommates in this house of magic? How do we get people to understand and perceive us in a whole different way? Well, it begins with focus. I found that magicians focus on different things. It starts with the trick, and I'm going to share with you a little theory on kind of like a bullseye. And as I tell you all this, I'm going to focus on close-up magic in particular, bars, restaurants, and cocktail parties. Now, the center bullseye is what I call the trick bullseye. And if you are asking the following questions, then you are at the core of your magic. You really focusing on these particular elements, and I'll go over these. First of all, is my magic efficient to pack, carry, and reset? Is it technically sound? These are all the questions that you need to be asking. Can I do my magic for one person, for 2 people, for a long table of 10, for 12? Do you have enough quality magic to perform for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes? All of these things are questions that you're asking if you're inside of the trick module. Now, this is a way to break down your tricks and to look at them. I like to set it up as 1 person, 2 person, 4 people, 10, 25, and then based on time. So you take your magic and you write it out. And this is just kind of an example here of different routines that if I were performing for 1 person, I would perform this particular trick depending on how much time I had. Now, this is an exercise that all of my magicians do, and I do this all the time. It really helps you if you're still figuring out which tricks to do and where you are in the trick world. This is a great exercise. Fill out this whole entire column, and you'll see that if you have 25 people, you're going to do a drink production. If you have 10 people, you're going to produce some money, coin production, and so on. You scale your magic. And then you also put it together and you routine it. So one routine goes after the other. So if I come up to a group of people, and there's only 2 of them, and I know that I have exactly 1 minute to spend with them, then I'm going to do warning, then I'm going to do a romantic card trick where they find each other's cards, and then I'll move on. If I've got 5 minutes, I'll do warning again, then I'll do sponge balls, I'll do card magic. It's always a mix. And doing this kind of exercise really, really helps you to understand where you are in the trick module. Once you've done this, good job. You can kind of fill it in. Imagine it's like a fishbowl and you're filling it up with water. And once you've done that, you've maybe filled up the trick 70% of the way. The next part is to focus on yourself. Okay? Now this is where you get to ask interesting questions. First of all, am I dressed appropriately? Now, you don't have to have a suit, shirt, tie, belts, and shoes. You might be a different type of performer, but the most important word is appropriately. Is your costume appropriate for your environment? Then, again, this is you focusing on yourself, being prepared, being organized. Do you have the directions? Do you know where you're going? Is your magic case ready? Do you have a backup emergency case just in case? And then, something that unfortunately I have to address because I see magicians with ugly fingernails and bad clothing, you got to make sure that you're healthy, hygienic, and clean. And then when you look inside yourself, are you focused? Or are you thinking about a million other things? Are you really dedicated to your job and confident, and yet at the same time, are you courteous? And is there a smile on your face that when you walk onto the venue, you're happy? Now, once you've filled out the trick, fishbowl, I suppose, and the meat bowl, now's the most important one. You have to focus on your audience. Now, these are really important questions. Do you know what you're here for? Right? Do you know why your audience is here? And I know it's a simple question, but it goes deeper than when we realize it. Too many of us think that we're here to do magic tricks, or we're here to practice, or we're here to get another gig. But you're there to help the client, to help the audience. You need to find out exactly why your audience is there, and then you need to help them. Then you can ask yourself questions like, am I doing everything I can? What would enhance their experience? And maybe it has nothing to do with you, but there's still somebody that you can get, or somehow you can help your client create a greater experience. And truly, do you care about their experience? That's really fundamental, and I think not enough magicians know enough about their clients and study their clients enough to be able to answer these. So where is your focus? Is it on your tricks? Is it on yourself? Or is it on your audience? I think that's one of the most fundamental things, and I hope that this gives you a way of looking at it in a different way. Now, that's the bullseye, and I use this bullseye in so many different areas. Whenever I talk with my team, whenever I lecture, whenever I talk to anybody, I can hear it. I know what people are focused on. Are they focused on their tricks? Is it them or their audience? Now, neither one is better than the other. I just want you to know that you have to get your tricks in order before you can move on to yourself. And you have to be confident of yourself before then you can move on and really focus on the audience. Now, you know, when I used to get calls for shows, clients would call me and they'd say, hey, we want to hire you, what do you do? And I would tell them all about myself. I'd say, oh, I do all this magic, I'm really good, I've got original tricks that I teach magicians you won't see anywhere else. It was all me, me, me. And I didn't book any shows that way. And the moment I started asking my clients, what made you think of hiring a magician? Why did you think of me? The world changed completely. And the clients started opening up and telling me why they were interested in hiring a magician. You know, it's amazing how we get wrapped up in our performances. And so I want to encourage you, if you're thinking about doing this professionally, and you look at this bullseye, and you know that you've got the tricks, and you've got the me, then I really encourage you to start learning about who your audience is. A major part of it is discovering who you are and what you do best. Not just being a magician for all occasions, but knowing which particular market to go after. Now, I know this is a lot of heady stuff, so I'll finish with one more final thought before we go into some practical advice for you. And that's this. If you're considering doing magic professionally, don't be worried that you're not going to enjoy it because it's going to be your job. This is something that I've had so many magicians ask me. When I first getting started, they said, well, aren't you worried? You're going to be doing this full time. You're going to hate it. The truth is the exact opposite. In fact, these days, I love performing more than ever before. I spend my day at the office writing emails, proposals, sending over contracts, talking to clients, working with my team. And then when I get to the venue or I go on stage that night, it's like a gift. It's just like a pure joy. And I feel greater than ever performing it because I keep the two worlds separate. I love to do art for art's sake, and I value that. I decided to become a professional magician so that I didn't have to do magic to pay the bills, but so that I can make enough money with magic so that I could choose where I wanted to perform, when I wanted to perform, and do art because I love it. Because of this, I've also taken my business very, very seriously. Once again, I knew that the great magicians and the successful magicians are sometimes two different groups, and I wanted to bridge the gap. So if anything you take from this, I hope it inspires you to do magic full-time, to do it professionally, part-time, whatever it is you do, but please keep it at a high level, raise that level, and make sure that you always and consistently deliver. So how's that for a start? We're doing good so far, guys? Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some practical advice. Let's talk about approach, all right? Let's imagine that we are at a bar or we are at a restaurant. We are at a cocktail party. And I'm going to move over here where we have two guests that are hanging out here. In fact, they're having a little drink. They're relaxing. Welcome to Chateau Murphy's. How are you guys doing tonight? Fine. We'll put that down here for the time being. Good evening.
Hello.
How are you folks?
Good. How are you?
I'm so great. What is your name?
Nick.
Nick Kostya?
John.
John Kostya, thank you so much for joining us. Now, we're going to kind of just play along here, and you two are just spectators for the time being. You're having dinner at a restaurant. My job is to approach you and to get you guys excited about seeing some magic. Now, I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to do any magic for you, I'm just going to talk about the approach. First things is, as I'm walking by in the restaurant, you know, a lot of people just want to walk up and be like, hello, you guys want to see a trick? Right? And it's too much, right? Physically too much, verbally too much. So what I do is I call it the walk by. And I do this at cocktail parties, and I do this at restaurants. It's a great little tool that allows you to kind of interrupt them and intrude, but in a very nice way. Here's how I do it. I walk past the group, and as I walk past the group, I focus, I make sure there's nothing on the table or they're not having a deep conversation, that this is an okay time to interrupt. And I look over my shoulder, and I catch your eye contact. Oh, excuse me. And it's as if you pull me in. It's as if you're inviting me to join you at the table. Now, this is especially helpful if you're at a cocktail party and there's people around a high-top table like this, and they're a very tight group and they're all together and they won't let you in. This is great because you walk by and you look over and the person looks at you and you kind of give a little head nod and they think that they recognized you, so they kind of go, oh, hey. And everyone else around them sees them recognize you, so they open up the circle and they let you right in. And now you're kind of hanging out with the group. Breaking the ice is always the hardest part. Now, you know, when it comes to breaking the ice, there's verbal and there's physical. So I'm going to give you two examples of how I warm up my audiences, both with my language and with my posture, okay? So first things, what I'll do is I'll do a magic trick, and I'll do the rubber band trick. And I'll take out the rubber bands, and I'll say, can you please examine that for me, if you would? Can you please make sure it's real? Can you please make sure there's no trapdoors, no mirrors, no one hiding inside? Is that pretty fair, pretty good? Yeah. Perfect, thank you so very much, I appreciate it. Now, what looks like just me handing you two rubber bands and you giving them back is actually a very big deal. When I hand them to you, we're meeting in between our personal space. See, there's a space between us. But when I take it back, I turn my shoulder, and I'm entering your personal space. And then I pass it on, and then I do the same thing to you. I'm physically getting closer to you. Apollo Robbins teaches a lot of this stuff, that it's more comfortable if I'm shoulder to shoulder to you, and I'm physically making that ice melt away. Then I'm going to verbally do it as well. Now, verbally, there's something that I call the competency statement, okay? And a competency statement has to tell the audience, here's who I am, here's why I'm here, and most importantly, here's why I'm here for you, okay? And so here's what I do. When I approach a group, I'll walk by, and then, oh, hey guys, excuse me, how are you? Good. Good, I don't want to interrupt. My name is Kostya. I'm actually the house magician. I've been asked to do a little magic for everyone. You guys want to see something fun? Yeah. And get started. Now, what did I just say? I said, hey, here's who I am. I said, I've been asked. And that's a nice little verbal thing. I've been asked to do a little magic for everybody. Can I show you guys something fun? Yes. When I do this with my team, I say, have you guys seen magic yet? Have you seen one of our magicians? Oh, you haven't? Oh, well, let me show you. I'm one of the guys here. Let's get started. Now, oftentimes, you know, the more you do it, you'll start hearing the same kind of sentences. You'll have people make the same kind of jokes, and you can play off of them. You can riff off them. What's funny is that sometimes people kind of like, they haven't seen you and they're thinking magic tricks, oh, it's going to be terrible. So they'll roll their eyes, right? They'll roll their eyes, or they'll kind of look at each other and kind of like snicker, like, oh, magician, really? So I've developed lines that are meant just for that. Now, this line that I'm about to tell you took me 4 years to develop. I'm not asking you to take it. I'm asking you to use it as an example of something for yourself. Good evening, folks. My name is Kostya. I'm the house magician. I've been asked to do a little magic for you guys. Are you ready to get started? Magic? Yeah, I know. I tell you what, you seem a little hesitant, sir. I will show you the fastest thing I do, and if you like it, I can always come back later on and do a little more. How does that sound?
Sure.
Right? They never say no. I'm going to show you the fastest thing I do, and if you don't like it, if you do like it, I can come back later on and do a little more. I'm implying that I'm already leaving. And oftentimes, as soon as I do that one trick, and I'll do the rubber band trick, or I'll do warning, I'll do something very fast and visual, And then right away I'll go, oh, thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be around here. And they go, no, wait a minute, do more. I saw you have cards. Do a card trick. And so my idea is that I'm encouraging them to tell me to stay. I want them to say, no, hold back and hang out here with us. So there's a couple of things that I'm doing. And the key words here all start with the letter A. The first one is attention. I'm hyper attentive of you and attentive of the table. And are you ready for me to come here to do magic for you? I'm also hyper aware. I'm watching the surrounding areas. If I'm in a restaurant, I'm watching my backside because there's an aisle behind me through which servers are moving. If I'm at a party, I'm looking to see what other groups are going to join us. Who else can I pull in to make it a bigger crowd? Or if I'm performing for you and I notice someone looking over there, I'm going to remember what material I'm doing. And I'm going to say, okay, person over there just saw me do this trick. So that when I'm done with this group, when I go over there, my opening statement to them is going to be, oh, hey, I saw you were watching the rubber bands, but I know you couldn't really see anything. Let me show them to you. And oftentimes I'll choose to block their point of view so that they can't see what I'm doing on purpose. Other times I'll elevate it and let them see the magic from afar. Then when I go over there, I'll say, oh, I know you saw that, but let me show you something different. So there's a lot of theories that I've developed over time, but the words are critical. Attention, awareness, assumptions. I'm assuming that you don't know who I am and you don't want to see magic. So my job is to win you over, to really get you to care about this stuff. And part of it is acknowledging it. And when I acknowledge it, I mean, oh, so you look a little hesitant. Or, hi, I'm the magician. Oh, sir, you seem so happy about that. Have you seen magicians before? And I'm going to acknowledge what it is that my audience is feeling. And it's a constant feedback loop that's going to happen over and over and over again. If there's one thing that I really want everyone to take away from this, it's the idea of the competency statement. You really need to draft and rehearse your competency statement so it has a perfect opening and a perfect closing. You want to tell your audience who you are, why you're here, and why you're here for them. That's really one of the most fundamental things that magicians need to do. So instead of being all over the map every time or coming up to a group going, hi, I do tricks, by having a competency statement, when I walk up to a group, I don't have to think about my opening lines, so I get to say all my opening lines. I get to do the rubber band trick or money trick or any trick that I've done 1,000 times. And as I do that, I don't have to focus on my hands. I don't have to focus on me. I get to focus entirely on my audience. That's that idea of the bullseye. I've perfected my tricks. I'm confident in myself. I get to focus on the audience. Their experience is what I care about most. So thank you all so much for being participants here. Give them a big round of applause for helping out. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Most importantly, your drink back. Yes. All right. How you doing over here, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Did you know we're doing this live? I didn't know.
I had no idea. I had no idea. Now, you're talking about cold openings and breaking the ice. And you prepared an effect for us.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the coolest icebreakers I've ever seen. I've used it before for many years. And
you told me that. I was so happy to hear that. And I get comments from magicians around the world that they love this thing, they do this thing. I'm incredibly just happy with this trick because I think it's one of the simplest things you can do, one of the most direct tricks that you can do, but it's also very, very powerful. So I'll do it for you. The idea is that I would approach a crowd and I would, if I sense a hesitation especially, right? So if I approach the group and I say, hey guys, I'm the magician here, and I'm like, they see that maybe some person is looking at each other. I go, do you guys like danger? And right away they change. They go, oh yeah, of course we love danger. Or I might not even say I'm a magician. I might say, hey guys, how are you? My name is Kostya. I've been asked to spend a little time with everyone. Do you guys want to see something dangerous? They're in. You know what I mean? There's nothing. They're in.
Dangerous.
Oh, of course. They all make their
the key
jokes.
word.
Yeah, danger is the key word. And this is what I do. I take out a lighter, and we'll go to the overhead cam for this so we can see a little bit. I have a lighter with a label here, and these are self-sticking little labels. If you peel it off, you know, you can do this with a water bottle, it's fine. But with a lighter, you're not supposed to do this, right? So if you do this with a lighter, what happens is these are flammable, so they're combustible, but it's renewable for safety's sake. So there you go. Thank you.
So that's warning.
That's warning.
That is warning.
It's one of those 10-second tricks that is instant, visual, and I mean, since you've done it before for real audiences, you know how they go nuts.
And people from, I used to do that behind the bar, and people from afar would see and then get curious, oh, what is that? And they'd start migrating over. And I think that's important to talk about because we're talking about now the approach.
Yes.
And if you're approaching a table of 2 by doing something like that, you're actually approaching a table of 10.
Yes.
subconsciously, secretly.
That's interesting because that point of approaching that first table that you approach, that first group, is really going to set the attitude for you and how you feel throughout the night. And if people see you're being rejected from table to table, it's not a really great thing. So it's really important for you to walk over to the group and get the first group really excited. So if you can win those two people over, like you said, the other people see something's happening. What is that? And fire especially, people love fire. And this is small enough that it's safe to do in any environment, where you still got to be careful. It's flash paper, but it's very quick and very visual.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the performance of it. Let's talk about.
I
want to know how you thought of this. Like, what? It's an interesting effect.
Yeah, I was working at bars. We were doing promotions around the country with magicians at bars and restaurants, and I was really tired of losing my voice. Like every night I was coming back and I was tired of the screaming, and I was playing with a lighter and I was playing with different paddle moves with stickers, and I thought it wouldn't be cool if the sticker was made of flash paper. And so it took a couple months, got the first batch manufactured, and I remember first time I walked into the gig, it was the only trick I did. And it was so loud in this restaurant, I would walk up to each group and I'd say, "Hey," screaming over this music, "Hey, magic, watch." And I'd do the trick and it would light up and come back, and I'd go over to the next group, "Hey, magic, watch." And at the end of the night, the booker came over to me and he says, "We've been doing this now for 6 months. This is the best reactions we've ever gotten." And I did one trick that night. I did one trick 30 times going from each group, but the reactions was amazing. So let me show you the work. Let me show you what you get with this stuff. You just need a regular lighter. Any lighter will do. And what you get with the package is you get some real stickers. So these are real stickers that go on to the lighter. And I recommend removing the safety tab here because that makes it easier for you to light this much faster in the future. So I've removed the safety catch. I've put the sticker on here. And then what you get in a package is you get these little labels. And I usually cut them up. This is the flash paper. I cut them up into little sheets and I put them into little kind of like Listerine packets. And this travels with me. And so this is the only trick that I do socially when I go out these days. I don't like to carry too many props, but this is always in my pocket. So now, if we cut back to the wide shot here, this is in my pockets, and I take this out of my pockets as I'm talking to the audience. As I'm talking to them, I'll literally just kind of do this in front of them. I'll open this up, and I'll push it forward, and I'll put it on there, and I don't need to say a word, and I'll put this away. And if someone notices, they see it's a little Listerine packet, they don't even think about it. So I literally just do it in front of them. Now, I've taught different handlings before with wax and different things to hold the paper. You don't need to do that. You literally, I take it, I place it right down here, and my thumb is right here on top holding it down. My fingers come over and they start playing with this, and they pretend like it's really difficult to peel this off. I mean, it's really just, it's loose, but it just takes a little bit of acting, and then the last little part you press, and you push it off, and so you act like the last little part was difficult. Now this is the paddle move. Now overhead is not the best shot, so I'm going to ask to go to this front shot so you guys can see exactly what it looks like to people. This is the move right there. That's what the paddle move looks like, okay? Now I'm not doing this thing, this disease that magicians have called paddleitis, where they move their wrist and they show objects in weird ways. Instead, here's the move. I'm rolling this lighter like this, and then I'm twisting it between my fingers, and if I combine the two, in this case showing the sticker on both sides, that's what it looks like. But literally it's at this halfway point is when my fingers turn in and they flip this all the way. Okay? If we go back to the overhead shot for a second, you'll be able to see that even better. Although this will give you a flash of the sticker, you'll be able to see this move. That just as I get to that halfway point, my fingers come in and they kick that forward. And I do this with both hands. Notice that I'm also flipping the lighter and I'm flipping the paper as well. So I do this a couple times, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this above, I'm going to light it, I'm going to hold it, and then I'm just going to flip the lighter and let it land here. So once again, it's here, I light it, and it comes back on, my thumb is there, bam, there it is. That's the easiest, most visual handling that I can do. Thank you, guys.
Yay. Now, how many refills does it come with in the DVD?
Yeah, so the DVD comes with 50 packs. And originally, I should tell you this funny story, is when I got these manufactured, originally they printed these for me, right? You can see this, they printed 20,000 of these, and they made me buy all of these giant labels as opposed to these here. And so it was really kind of a whole task. It took me 2 years, took me like $10,000 of research and development to finally get this really good paper, and the stickers are identical, the stickers match. So you get something like 50 of these with the DVD and 5 stickers, and then there's refill packs with 100. And most magicians, they see this and they go, oh, okay, it's a paddle move, I get it, that's easy, and so they just buy the refills. I really encourage you to get the DVD because it has a lot of extra handlings on there. And most magicians I see who have learned it don't know all the details. So I really encourage you to watch it. You'll learn how to do it on TV, how to do it like in this kind of frame as opposed to doing it close up. and there's a bunch of other little tricks on there too.
Yeah, and I got to say, you know, one of the original handlings I learned from the DVD was where you had like a corner of the piece, and this is more, to me, it's more like.
I'll show you that. I'll show you that. This is cool. This is a really cool idea. So if you take this, right, and the prep for that, and the reason I don't do it anymore is because I like the wholesome lighter. I like the reveal, and I can just do this a million times. But this I came up with because a part of me just wanted to mess with magicians, and a part of this is just really fun. What happened was my buddy Vito Lupo showed me how to handle flash paper, and he said that all you have to do if you don't want to burn your fingers, when you hold this, just lick these two fingers. Get these two fingers wet, and then hold it by the corner. And when you do that, all of this will burn away, but this way, will stay apart. So if I do that right now and I get my fingers wet, watch this. Ooh, almost. I missed a little spot. And so that little spot that doesn't get burned matches the corner perfectly, and people just freak out. It's a nice little convincer. But it's definitely one of those things that I think magicians love more than anything because it's clever.
Right.
It's certainly not needed if you're performing for lay people, but it is one of the things that's on there, absolutely.
And plus, I think the other version is more geared towards doing, like, I guess, kind of like ninja style, like just real quick.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
I can't tell you, literally, like, it's funny because it's my own trick and I'm like raving about it and I feel goofy, but, you know, it's one of those things that I just love doing. It's a lifesaver. And I found that, let's say I'm doing a banquet event and I've walked around for an hour during the cocktail party, and then I'm going to spend another half an hour walking around. I'm going to do kind of like round 2 for this. What I found is that this trick is perfect because I do magic for people, and they're amazed, but then they mix and mingle, and when I go back to them, there's people that have seen me before. So if I approach that crowd and I introduce myself and I start doing my competency statement, then someone's going to say, oh yeah, we saw you earlier, and if I start picking out a deck of cards, they think they've seen it before, so they start talking to their friends. This trick is perfect. I've done round 1, I walked around, I did rubber bands, cards, sponge balls, coins. I come back for round 2, I'm loaded with a different set of effects. I'll walk up to the table. Hi, how's everyone doing? My name is Kostya, I'm the magician. Someone will always go, oh, do you see this guy? And I go, oh yeah, that's right, I met you earlier. Did I show you the fire? Did I show you the dangerous thing? And instead of losing them to the conversation, now they're in, now they're focused. I get to do the trick for them. They scream, the whole table just goes nuts. And it's one of those tricks that has saved me whenever I'm doing events with loud music, bars, people who don't speak English it's been great for. And Orlando, where I perform, is an international city, so we have people from all walks of life. So I should stop raving about it, but I'll tell you that personally, the reason this trick is on the market is because I wanted it, I needed it, and the only way I could have the best paper made is if I got 100,000 sheets. And so now I get to share it with the magic community. I love it. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. So I hope that if you do it, you enjoy it as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And just to clarify real fast, because we did have a question come in.
Yeah.
The stickers come in the DVD. You get 5 stickers, right?
Yep.
5 stickers. So yeah, you don't have to find them anywhere else. They come with the DVD.
Yeah, they're identical. That's enough. That's enough to last you a while.
Now, you kept mentioning earlier, and I know the answer to this, but you kept mentioning earlier a team.
Yes.
You have a team of magicians that you've hired, that you guys kind of work together, and you go out and perform for the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
Like the venue there.
Yeah, so we got a couple of things. I've got an amazing team locally in Orlando, and I've got a national company called Sea Magic Live, and we're a brand of magicians. And the goal has been, from the first day, to elevate the perception and the production of magic performances around the country. And for us as a team in Orlando, what's wonderful is it really goes beyond sessioning. You know, we get to help each other grow. And we've had lectures from guys like Max Howard come in to work on our scripting and our performance. And not only is it a team, but it's a friendship. It's a great community that we have there. And there's no ego. It's one of those things that we've developed that's been so nice. We really get to uplift each other, and we get to celebrate each other. Whereas most magicians, not most, but whereas some magicians will put down other performers, we get to celebrate each other. You know, when I approach a group and I get to do my competency statement, and I open up and I say, have you guys seen magic yet? And they say, oh yeah, we saw Dave. I go, oh man, awesome. Did he do that one trick for you? And they say, oh yeah, we saw Erotd. Did he bend the forks? Did he make you go wild? And so I get excited about them seeing the magic. And this is funny. The moment I started booking other magicians, you know, it was cool because I'd watch them and they were performing for other people. I would get just as much joy from watching lay people react to my friends performing as I did when it was me. And it was a very changing moment for me when I realized I don't have to be the guy. I don't have to be the one doing work all the time. You know, it's like Elon Musk said, you know, you can't be everywhere. The world is huge. And by helping others, we're affecting, it's so cool because now at an event, instead of me performing for 20 people and making 20 smiles, I know that in that course of the evening, there's going to be 200 smiles and 200 moments of magic created because I have an amazing team of people that I work with. So it's really phenomenal. And if we have the photo of our team, you'll see them. This is us performing at the Orlando Magic Games.
I don't see any guys in there.
Yep, up top we have Stuff, who's the mascot. He's there with Dave Maldo. In front of him is Drew Thomas, who's our illusionist. On the left, we have Alec Perea, Josh Arroyo. There's myself on the right with Michael Eaton, Rafael Villa, and Sebastian and Darren Rockwell are not in the picture. They're part of our team. And then a guy who's a DJ who snuck in the photo on the bottom there. And those are all our girlfriends. So it's a pretty good job. I wish. No. It's a really fun time. We're there for 41 games during the regular season. There's 18,000 people that we get to entertain. And actually, we have a little clip so you can see us in action as well.
Let's play that.
Sounds great. We'll do the move.
Yeah, the point.
Hey everyone, we're here at the Amway Center at the Gentleman Jack Terrace getting ready to do a little magic for all the fans.
major. I don't know how that happened.
That was so cool. Yeah, that was awesome.
D-O-I-O-N.
How did you do that?
This guy's wow.
Well, there's one thing I see. There's a common theme there, and that's everyone's smiling. Everyone's having a great time, including the magicians.
Yes.
And that's obviously that's what you look for. That's what you want. You know.
You know, when I tell all of my clients, whenever they hire one of our magicians, I say that they are great people first, and they happen to be great magicians. That's the real difference. Is that there's a lot of guys who are amazing magicians, but they're just mean or they're just whatever. Our team, what makes them so great and why I love working with them is that they're just wonderful people and they know how to relate with others. That's really one of the most fundamental things.
Right, and so, you know, there's several clips working with groups and stuff, and we had a question come in earlier from Mr. Wayne Spillner. How you doing, Wayne? When strolling or doing restaurant magic, what is the ideal length of your interaction at each table or group?
Awesome question. So let's talk about maybe different venues. Now with the Magic games at the NBA games, because I was watching our performers do Magic, and we have 18,000 fans, and there's only 3 of us per game, and we're trying to impact 500 to 1,000 people on a personal level over the course of a couple hours, I came up with the 1 minute per person rule. I was watching my guys spend so much time. You know, there'd be 2 people, and they were there for 5 minutes. Now, no, we can't do that. So as a rule, it's not a 100% must, but as a rule, I said that spend 1 minute per person. So if you have 1 person, don't spend more than a minute. 2 people spend up to 2 minutes, 3 people 3 minutes, and really up to 6 people I found is a good number. 6 minutes is the max amount of time that you should be spending time. What I really encourage you to do is to go back to a group more than once. It's better to go back to them 2-3 times and do 2 minutes each time as opposed to doing 1 6-minute set. It'll make a difference. It'll make them feel like they got a show multiple times, but it also makes them, leaves them wanting more. That's the most important thing. I find one of the biggest issues that I've had watching magicians around the country is they overstay their welcome. They stay way too long and they go on for forever. If you can keep it shorter, keep it better. Another thing I say is seconds to smile. It was another thing. Now I used to have this. I remember when I first got started in restaurant magic, I would walk up to the group, and it was weird because I wasn't feeling the love or the energy until about a minute and a half went by, and I found the first card. And then when I found the first card, then they went nuts, and they applauded, and they cheered, and they were happy. But until that moment, it wasn't happening, so I moved it back. And I waited to get to the 30-second mark. So I'd talk, I'd introduce myself. Nowadays, I try to get there as soon as I possibly can. And that's why I really encourage everyone to have 10-second tricks. Visual pieces that stand out that within 10 seconds someone goes, oh my God, you're a magician. You can always go back to being just a regular guy and talking to them. But I encourage you, if you're going to do magic, get it done fast, get them to smile, get them to love you, laugh with you, be happy, and then you can go on.
Give them wanting more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that kind of goes back to the graphic you had of what tricks you had picked out for how the length of time.
Yeah.
So when you guys go back and watch this back at home, reference that graphic because that kind of answers that question as well. How long should you spend?
Yeah.
You know, with each amount of people, depending upon how many people you have, you know, things like that. So
the key to doing that worksheet, right? The key to filling that out is really knowing where your material falls. So you don't have to, when you get in front of a group, you don't have to go into your own head and go, oh, what material should I be performing? But when you approach a group, having done this worksheet, you'll go, oh, there's 2 people, and I've got 5 minutes. Oftentimes, if I'm working in a restaurant and I see a table that just cleared, I'll go up to the server and I'll say, how much time do they have? And he'll say, oh, they got 20 minutes, they got forever. So now I know I can go up to them twice right away and then come back to them, or I'll wait a few minutes and then I'll go spend 5, 6, 7 minutes with them. You can go, if you're thinking about restaurant magic, you can go for a long time if you want to, but I encourage you to break it up and do more of the multiple sets if you can.
Okay. We have some more questions about this
Bring
in
it
particular.
on.
So I want to go to basically someone had Leon Anderson. How you doing, Leon? Is asking about the head mic. Basically, is asking, are you mic'd up in the house, or is this a waistband speaker? And how do you find it is if it is a
I'll give you the honest answers. That head mic was really for the video. That head mic was when we were filming that. I don't normally wear that for performance. However, our performer outside, Raphael, wears that headset, and he's got a speaker set up. We have one magician performing outside for an hour before the game starts, and then we have 2 of us inside going around. And so we don't have to use the mics. We just use the mics in the video to get the best quality audio for that. But that was a nice little pack that I used for many, many years throughout.
Nice,
that.
nice. Actually, an important question from Kurt Kritzler. Do you have the wait staff mention you're here, or do you do a cold call?
So this is cool, because I've learned a tremendous amount about how do you make people aware that you're a magician. When I first started doing magic, I was kind of scared. I didn't want anyone to know that I was there, because I was like, I don't know if this is going to go well, so I don't want anyone to know that I'm a magician. I would just walk around and I had to fight for people's attention. Then my dad gave me a little pin, a little card pin, which is kind of, a little corny, a little goofy, a little cheesy. Please don't wear a card tie. If you learn nothing else from this lecture, burn your card ties. I beg you. He gave me a little card pin, and so when I walked over to the group, they would go, oh, you're the magician. I was walking around and someone would see me and they go, you're the magician they were talking about. Come on over here.
Right.
And I remember I was 15 when that happened. I went, oh my God, this is so much easier than having to fight for their attention. So nowadays at the restaurants, absolutely, the wait staff is instructed to let people know, hey, tonight is this night, we have a magician here. We also have a poster in the lobby. If you're ever at a party where you arrive and there's a DJ there with loud music, the best thing you can do is go over to the DJ, introduce yourself, and ask him to introduce you. It'll be the best thing you can possibly do. I don't know why it took me 10 years to learn that simple lesson. Some things take a while. But nowadays, whenever I go up to a group and there's a DJ, he announces it, I wave hello to everyone from the front, and now the rest of the introductions are so much easier. You don't always have that option, which is why I encourage everyone to work on their opening statement. But the more you can do to make it easier for yourself by telling the wait staff, by putting up signs in the restaurant, get those servers on your side as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent question. Thank you so much. I want to go ahead and shift back to the Orlando Magic team.
Yeah.
Because you guys have been getting a lot of local television publicity.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for a moment?
I was really not surprised by this, but I was kind of I wasn't ready. I knew it eventually would happen. I'm not a guy who's striving to be on TV. So when the local television came around, it was like, great, here's an opportunity to talk about the local shows that we're doing. We also do a lot of fundraisers, and so what I've done with my team is we do a lot of media training. It's kind of funny because as magicians, we're supposed to be masters of perception. we're supposed to know how people see us and how people perceive us. Well, that's what television is. That's what cameras are. There are different angles. And your job as a magician is to be aware of how you're being perceived on camera just as much as you're being perceived when you're off camera. So maybe we'll show them a little news clip here, just kind of a collection of stuff, and then I'll give a little bit of advice on what you can do when you're on television.
Let's roll that clip.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to Good Day. He's performed in more than 200 cities and 5 continents. That's impressive. And is the official magician of the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, his name is Kostya Kimlat, and he's a local guy who's made magic his career.
Illusionist, Kostya Kimlat. I love the name. Love it.
I'm going to go right there so you see how we're stuck. Yes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you guys feel the tension?
Yes.
Watch, we'll do it one strand at a time.
Wow.
Out loud?
Out loud.
27.
And what's the number right there on the Powerball?
Get out of town.
Right there, that's what we dropped. What? That's the one on the outside. That's 3 on the inside.
How is this possible?
Go ahead, open it up. By 3.
Amazing. He is the official magician for the Orlando Magic, so you can't get any better in town.
I love my job.
Okay. You've left the reporter speechless. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been really, really fun. I have to say that it's kind of crazy, like we're doing live right now, but I've learned things over time that I think can be beneficial to magicians. And again, the reason that I want to share this is the same thing, like I want to help elevate the art of magic. I want us to perform at a higher level. I don't want to see magicians bumbling through their close-up set. I want to see you succeed on your local television when you're on there because you're representing us as an art. And so I've got a couple tips that I'll go over with you because it's kind of like the bullseye that we talked about. If you're going to be on TV, first, take care of the center bullseye. Make sure you have the exact tricks that you want to do. Second, you're going to focus on yourself. Make sure you feel confident and you look right. And then finally, you get to focus on the entire audience. So I'm going to give you maybe a couple little bits of advice. First of all, do what you do best. That's the first thing I'm going to tell you. Do what you do best. It's very easy for you to say, oh, I'm going to be on TV tomorrow. Let me try something crazy. I've done auditions. I don't ever do auditions anymore, but I did when in Orlando for Disney and Universal Studios when I was a kid. And I told them that I could swallow needles and razor blades. And they said, hey, can you come in and do that tomorrow? So I spent till 6 in the morning cutting my tongue with razor blades trying to figure out how to learn that. New trick, right? How exciting. Don't do that. Instead, do what you do best. If you search on Google and YouTube, you'll find my videos of me performing on TV with 2 newscasters here. I do the stuff that I've been doing now for years. Cards, rubber bands, sponge balls, things that make me feel comfortable. So do what you do best. Shine. Be yourself. Second of all, be prepared to be quick and know your time. It's not enough to say, oh, this is a short trick. When I do warning, I know it takes me exactly 10 seconds. I know exactly how long it takes on camera. So bring lots of extra magic with you that you can do live. They're going to do little teases. So, hey, we're going to be on in 3 minutes, but we're going to cut to you for a second. Can you spring the cards? Can you do color changes? What can you do right now on camera that's going to be a visual thing to get the viewers to come back and watch? So be ready to have extra magic with you. So that's enough on the trick part. For yourself, you want to rehearse your script separate from your tricks, okay? This is something that has fundamentally transformed my performances ever since I started doing it about 5 years ago. And I'll talk about this again later on when we talk about stage magic. But what I always do now is, like newscasters, politicians, everyone has talking points. So I write down my main key points. What do I want my audience to remember? So if I'm going on TV and I'm talking about a festival, I'm going to write down the key points of that festival, what I want them to walk away from. And I'm going to practice the script separately. I'm going to practice the trick separately. I'm going to work on this. And then I can combine the two together. Anyone who's performing on a trade show or anything like that, they do that. It really helps to separate them and practice them separately. Bring things like makeup to get rid of oils and stuff like that, because you're going to be on TV. You don't want the shiny face. That's really important. Bring someone to help you out. You want an assistant. It's one of those things where, as magicians, we always do something on our own. We're always just by ourselves. This is a really good time for you to bring someone to help you. They can document it. They can live tweet it on social media and talk about it. But most importantly, they can film you, too, and help you. And if there's an emergency and you need a bottle of water, you need something, they're there to help you. They're your assistant. So I really encourage you to bring someone with you. Finally, it's probably going to be like 6 in the morning when you have to be on camera. So warm up your voice. Do your vocal exercises. Talk, la, 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 all that stuff. And then, here's the best thing. Go do magic for somebody. Find them in the hallway, for the assistant, for whoever let you in. Don't just start off cold because the audience will know it. You always want to do close-up magic beforehand for a real live audience before you start performing on TV. So that takes care of the center bullseye of the trick and the second bullseye of yourself. Now for the audience. This is really important. You want to connect to the producer of the program ahead of time and email them and send them all the information they need. So if you're going to promote your website or your schedule or the days of your shows, you want to get all that information so they can put it up on the screen. You also want to watch the show so you know what the format is like. And you also want to find out who the viewer is. You want to provide value to the viewers. That's one of those things that, again, I think we're so into what we're doing that we absolutely forget. So I have a little checklist here if we want to bring this up. This is what I want you guys to remember, all right? Remember, tricks, me, audience, right? You're going to make sure that you know what you do best and you know your time, and then you bring extra magic for you. And this takes care of this trick module. Rehearse your script separate, have someone to assist you, warm up, relax, breathe, and speak normally. Finally, connect to the producer, watch the program, learn the format, and provide value to the audience watching. So those are my tips. My sincere hope is that this helps you. If one little thing that you just heard right now, one little thing helps you when you're out there performing professionally, then I will have done my job. So that's it.
Now, in terms of on TV, obviously, you guys created a big buzz to where you guys were kind of, they came to you.
Yeah.
Now, what if you want to go to TV? Is there any advice? Maybe you want to, maybe you have an event you do, a regular gig at a restaurant, and you would like to get yourself out there. Do you have any advice for that? Do you have any at all? Or?
Well, the first piece of advice I can tell you is that professionals will do it better than anyone else. So I really encourage you that if you're serious about this, that you reach out to a professional PR team, because that's their job. They know how to get people on TV and newspapers. They're going to do it better than you will. One of the nice things about doing fundraisers is that you get to meet a lot of local personalities. So I would never have known this, but now after being on TV and being in the magazines, when I go to these fundraising events locally, I see all the people. They're my friends now. I know all these people, whereas before I didn't. But maybe you can do fundraising events, meet these people, and say, hey, I'd like to be on your program. But it really comes down to that PR companies know these people. They know how to help television stations. They know how to help them have a good show, and they really help out. One thing that I'll say is that your willingness to spend on your business should reflect your confidence to earn. Okay? I'll repeat that. Your willingness to spend should reflect your confidence to earn. So if you are going out there and you're building your business and you want to make a certain amount of money, you've got to be willing to spend that. How confident are you that you're going to make that? And if you are confident in yourself, then be willing to invest in other people who are professionals at what they do. Invest in people who make professional websites. Invest in professional graphic designers that get you printing done. Don't print your business cards at home. Don't try to do everything yourself. Here's the thing. If you're going to be doing this professionally, there's other people out there that will help you grow your business. So I think another thing that magicians need to stop doing is having this mentality of, I have to do everything myself. Now, it's really good to learn it. I have about 14 different aspects of my business, from accounting to marketing to social media. And I have different people that run different departments. But my job has become to manage each of these departments. So I have to count on professionals to know what they're doing in PR and everywhere else. But my job is to also set the goals and communicate to everyone, give the directions and lead the way, and to make sure that everyone is doing a good job. It's certainly different from doing card tricks, but I love that just as much. I found that there's an art to the business side just as much as the magic side.
Absolutely, and I'm learning a lot right now. So
awesome, good.
And I hope you guys are at home too. So let's talk about more of the style of magic that we got you started, restaurant magic.
Yeah.
14, right?
Yeah,
riding
14,
a bike.
Exactly. I was telling you the story earlier. I rode a bike over to, didn't have the bell, not that fancy. I moved to America when I was 9 years old from Kiev, Ukraine with my family. I was about 11 when I saw World's Greatest Magic, and I saw Bill Malone and Jeff McBride and Lance Charquette, all these guys doing amazing magic. And about maybe, 6-9 months into it, I learned about restaurant magic. So I knew 3 tricks then. I did Color Monte, Copper, Silver, Brass, and the Flim Flam Shuffle, which was like, the Triumph. And I went into this restaurant. I rode over 8th grade on my bike, and I walked in, shorts and a T-shirt, and I said, hi, I do tricks. Can I do them here? And I don't know what the manager was thinking, but he let me in, and I did magic that day. And then the next day I came back, and it was a different manager. So I had to resell that manager. And the next day it was another manager, so I had to resell them. Well, the guy yesterday let me. Okay, sure, kid, go on. And I would do this during lunchtime for that summer, and I remember realizing then, the very first day that I walked out of there, that there's nothing else I'd rather do in my life. And I've now been doing restaurant magic for 18 years now. It's absolutely just unbelievable. And a lot of magicians that I know, they kind of go, oh yeah, I used to do restaurant magic. I don't do that anymore. And maybe that'll come. There'll be a part of my life where I'll feel the same way. But right now, I perform at the nicest and most expensive restaurant in town, and I meet the best clientele there. And whereas I've heard professionals put down restaurant magic, I still find that 90% of my best business comes from there. So if you are a magician who's looking to grow your local business, to develop your presence, to increase everything that you do, I can't recommend anything better than a local restaurant for you to start performing. And even the restaurant where I'm at right now, where I've been for 7 years now, 3 years into it, I started doing a dinner show. So if you're one of those guys that you don't like maybe walking around, you don't like going to people, you like the audience come to you, restaurants are an opportunity to do that as well. I do both. I do weekly magic, walking around. Whenever I'm not there, someone else is covering for me. But then I also do a dinner show where people buy tickets and they come to the show, and that's where I get to feel like an artist. But what I love about restaurants is that every table that I perform for, it's new. It's fresh. They don't care how good I am, where I've been, or what awards I've gotten. It really keeps my ego in check, and it makes it fun for me because they're going, hey, you're here with us right now, prove to us, care about me. And so I have to forget everything else, and I have to be there with them in the moment. And when I get to do the close-up magic, I'm doing my opening statement, and I'm doing the rubber band trick, I'm watching the people. I'm learning what their personality types are. I'm seeing by the way they react that maybe someone is an expressive, someone else is an analytic. Ooh, this person's a driver, they want power and control. So maybe I should do Chad Long's shuffling lesson for them because that's going to give them the control they want. Whereas this person's analytic, I'm going to have them examine my sleeves in the card box, That's what I love about restaurant magic. I love the magic. I still challenge myself, and I do new tricks, but the real challenge is the people. So if you love people and you want to become even better at interacting with people, restaurants are the way.
I agree, and I think it's important to note too that the whole idea behind working a restaurant ultimately is to book bigger gigs. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, that's yes. And I'm sure you've had repeat performers come in or repeat customers come in to see you and to bring their friends and say, you got to check this guy out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's like in any business, there's a funnel. You have to be seen. So what happens is in a restaurant, you're seen by thousands of people. And then when you get on local TV, they know where to come find you, and then they see you, they go, oh yeah, we just saw you on the news. Out of the thousands of people that see you, there's going to be a couple hundred people that come to my dinner show. Out of those couple hundred, there's going to be a few dozen that are going to book me to do a private show for them. And out of that group, there's going to be a percentage that's going to hire me again and again every year, and I've had clients that are hiring me for 15 years in a row, and that to me is a true mark. Paul Gertner told me he has a client that's been hiring him for over 30, 40 years, and that's my real goal, is to have clients that continually and consistently bring me in on this. When I first went in, I'll tell you this, that when I first went in, I thought it was all about my tricks, right? I didn't realize that the real needs of the restaurant are things that I weren't aware of. And that's one of those things that I really hope that magicians, as we continue this discussion, will share some of those needs. I really want magicians to know that it goes far beyond themselves. And you really have to learn more about the restaurant and their business in order to be successful at this. If you're thinking about getting into the magic, then you got to read books, Jim Sisti, Kirk Charles, Charles Green, Michael Amar. All of these books are really, really crucial. You got to read all those. And then you can really move forward and also ask yourself, why are you doing restaurant magic? Are you doing this because you want to get better at doing your magic tricks? Well, there's probably a lot better places for you to practice where you're not hurting the chances of other working professionals, right? So if you're just working to develop on your inner circle of tricks, go elsewhere, do free shows, do fundraisers, do stuff like that. Restaurants are for helping you build your clientele, have a steady income, meet potential clients, like you said, and really importantly, invite potential clients to come see you perform. Absolutely. I can tell you a bunch of these things. Maybe, why don't we do this? Because I've been doing restaurant magic now with magicians around the country. So I've got we do 3-day workshops on this stuff where we talk about the ins and outs of every angle. When I do these the lectures and magicians ask me questions, I thought we'd begin by giving some practical advice. So let me begin that if you're watching this and you're thinking about doing restaurant magic or you're trying this out, I'll give you a few little pointers to be aware of as you go forward. And then we'll talk a little more about the business side of things.
Okay,
How does that
perfect.
sound? And
Yeah.
let me know. I know that you're also looking at the questions, so if anything else comes in, you let me know on that.
Absolutely.
So I've got 5 points for you, okay? I'm going to tell you 5 points that if you're doing magic at restaurants, let's talk about your tricks first of all. Make sure that you finish the whole sheet. Make sure that whole matrix is filled out so you know where your magic is. One of the things that I did when I was getting started is I would take a piece of paper and I would put it inside the cellophane here in the box, and that would be my cheat sheet. So I would have sets. So again, if you're somebody who's like, I have a lot of magic, I don't know what to do, make it easy for yourself. Fill out that matrix, write your routines down, print it out in 8-point font, and put it inside the cellophane. That way when you approach a group, you don't have to go, what's going on? You know exactly what you're going to do. The benefit of having multiple sets that have various non-card magic is that you can do it for groups that are near each other, and the groups will see, oh, wow, he's doing something for them that he didn't do for us. Oh, I wonder what that is. And maybe they'll ask you to do it again that night, or they'll come back in the future and say, hey, we were leaving last week, and I saw you were doing something with a string. Can you show us that? So that's the benefit of having your magic and know what's going on. Second is your case. Too many magicians come into the restaurant with a case, and then they have to disturb, and the management or the employees, they have to put the briefcase somewhere far away. So if you can, eliminate all that extra stuff. Make sure that everything that you're using to perform is packed on your pockets. You don't want to be the bulging hippo with all the stuff stuffed to here coming out. You want to be as minimalistic as possible. Now what that means for me is that I only have one deck in my pockets ever. That's it. I have one deck of playing cards, card to wallet, rubber bands, hundy. And what's cool is that having done this now 15 years, when I'm ready to walk out of the house, I just go boom, 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 boom. Great, I got it. And I know that all my props are there. It's one of those things that makes it easier for me to be consistent. But I really encourage you, don't use a case, don't bring a close-up pad. Close-up pads are nice, but they're not for restaurants. It's better to do magic that's up here. You want them to remember who you are. I oftentimes will maybe put down a card box onto their table, but I'll never move their stuff out of the way, and I'll never use their table for a big effect. Avoid that as much as possible. Having said that, there's many exceptions, and like Eugene Berger would be invited to sit at the table, and I've done that a couple of times, and it's amazing what a difference it makes when you sit down with the group. But in general, it's hit and run magic, it's quick, it's visual, it's in the hands. Forget about putting anything on the table. Third thing, find somebody to do this with. Okay? Most magicians, again, are doing this on their own. I'm going to really encourage you to find a partner, someone that you can trust, someone that you can rely on, someone who's different from you, that when people see them perform, they're going to come back next week and they're going to say, hey, I saw that guy. He was awesome. You know, he did this thing and this thing. And the key to finding someone to work with is you get to celebrate each other, right? It's not, again, release the ego, right? It's about celebrating. Oh, I wasn't here last week. Who'd you see? And this is so funny. At this table where I've been for 7 years, I walk up to the table last week. I go, hi, how you guys doing? I'm the magician. And the lady goes, oh, you must be the new guy.
What?
I loved it. I was like, and my ego went, oh, you know, it was like, no, I've been here for a while, you know. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh, no, who'd you see? Oh, great, you saw Darren. You loved it? It was awesome for you? Great. So it's one of those things where you find a partner, someone who's different, and someone who's reliable. And I told this to a magician recently, and they were shocked. They're like, but wait a minute, I'm the one performing here. This is exactly the type of attitude that we have to lose. We have to forget about this thing. We have to know how to work with others. And here's the biggest benefit of this, is that the reason you're doing restaurant is you're going to get outside work. Well, when you get that outside work, it's probably going to be on a Friday or Saturday night when you're normally booked at the restaurant. You're not going to leave that restaurant high and dry. You're going to make sure that somebody's there to cover for you. You don't want to give them somebody bad, right? Because then they're going to go, oh, please don't bring that guy back in again. You want somebody who's good, but is different, that the owners can say, oh, wow, that guy was awesome. He's not you. We love you. And that's the idea. You find someone that you can work with. So partners. Finally, get paid. You know, it's a big question, and I'm sure that's coming in. People are asking, how much do you get paid?
Yep.
Yeah, right? Do you get tips? What do you do? It's a tough issue. And not tough, but there's lots of different ways to look at it. You know, you can, if you wanted to, say, no, I'm going to just do this for tips. And that's okay, but know that you're hurting the potential for other professional performers to make a living. One of the reasons that you need to get paid is because you need to provide value. If you're not getting paid, the audience is getting something for free, then they're not appreciating your value, and most likely you're not really delivering the value anyways. Now, you can't charge them the same amount that you would charge for a private event. But I'm not going to give you numbers because every area is different, okay? They vary in different amounts around the country, but mostly restaurant magicians make about the same. Here's the little piece of advice. If you're thinking about how much to charge for a restaurant, take your fee for a private event for 1 hour and divide that in half and charge the restaurant that much for 2 hours. So half the price for twice the time. I found that not only is that a good way to figure out how much to charge, but also it's a good way for you to pitch the restaurant. It's a good way for them to know the value. So when we would call up the restaurants, they'd say, well, how much do you charge? I'd say, wow, thanks for asking. That means you're interested. And then I'd say, well, normally our charge is this much. So let's say it's $500 for an hour of magic. But because you're hiring us for 52 weeks, we're going to give you twice the time for half the price. So it's a great negotiating tactic. It's a great way to phrase it. And I think it's a good way for magicians who are thinking of going out there and doing it. It kind of tells you kind of where you are. And look, the truth is that anybody can get a restaurant gig. Anybody can get a restaurant gig. But bad magicians work at bad restaurants. Good magicians work at good restaurants. Great magicians work at great restaurants. And so, yes, it's easy for anyone to get a gig if they want to, but the question is, what level are you performing at? And are you performing for tips at a place where it's dirty and there's napkins on the ground and it's a crappy little place that no one goes back to? Or are you performing at a fine dining establishment where, what's the average price per meal? That's one of the things that you have to learn is how much are customers spending too. So that's kind of the advice here. If we want to go to the overhead cam, I'll check it off to make sure that we covered everything. This is the advice that I want to give you. Make sure you see it. First things is know your magic. Don't carry a case or a pad. Make sure that you find reliable people to work with. Get paid. Please provide the value. Make sure that you do that. And then just as a thought, you charge half the price for half the time of your private fee. Again, the goal is for you to get as many outside gigs as possible, and restaurants allow you to do that, and that's one of the real reasons that you want to provide value.
Wow.
So, thanks. Wow. Thank you, guys.
I have a question on that.
Yeah,
You're talking about private fees and stuff like that. What does one charge? Now, obviously, you can't tell somebody at home what they're going to charge, but how do you set a level of what you should charge? Where do you start? How do you, figure out, hey, I'm worth this much, and this is how much I'm going to charge you this gig?
Great question. The easiest answer I can give you is you should first things reach out to the other professionals in your area, because there are other people that are doing this already. And again, I know this is a new concept maybe in magic, but I really mean it. We're not competition. We can work together and we can make people appreciate magic. Just like they watch different types of movies and they go to see different types of comedies, they might see me and they go, wow, we love magic. Let's go see a different type of magic. And so if you're going to reach out to another magician in your area, that's the first thing you should tell them is you say, hey, listen, I don't want to steal your gigs. I want to be your backup. I want to be your helper. I want to learn. I'm getting into this. I want to be someone that you can rely on. And then I would work with them. I would get hired by them. It's a good way for you to start and get to know what is in the price market. It's really different in every city. I can tell you this right now, is that even restaurants around the country slightly change their prices because East Coast is different from the West Coast and different dynamics and different geography. So if you're performing in an affluent area, you would charge differently. And we'll talk about that in a moment when we talk about corporations and how to work with them. But that would be my first piece of advice. Find out what your market can bear. And then, the client that I've had for 15 years, I have slowly increased the value that I provide for them. I've slowly moved from doing just close-up magic for them to stage magic and workshops, but I've also increased my fee over time to match the value that I'm providing them. So it's fine to start low. When you negotiate the price with the restaurant, negotiate the price and tell them that this is for a month, and you're going to do this for a month and see how you feel. And then at the end of the month, you do a check-in and you say, great, now, hey, listen, let's sign the contract. This is going to be for 3 months, and then we'll come and check back in 3 months. And then you do that annually. And, you might get to a point where you say to them, hey, listen, guys, I need to raise my price. And look, it might be enough for you, right? Let's say you're a magician and been doing this for a while. You're okay with the money. It's a little money, but it's steady and it's good. But you can't get anyone else to fill in for you because it's just not enough. Well, now you can go to the restaurant owner and you can say to them, you can say, hey, listen, I'm getting busier. I'm booking a lot more shows. I want to hire other guys to fill in for me. They're going to be just as great. I've trained them myself. I'd like to be able to raise the numbers to this much so that way I can bring in the quality of performers that you guys deserve. And that's a way for you to negotiate the fee and work it out. It's very easy for us to, as magicians, we don't think about accounting, we don't think about financials, but we really have to find out how operations run. My days when I was first starting out doing restaurant magic, I used to stand in the back of the kitchen at the end of the night, walk through the slippery floor, and stand there and get my paycheck, and the manager would scream across the kitchen, "How much are we paying you again?" And I don't want all the staff to hear it, so I'd walk over there, and so those days are gone. Now we invoice and we bill our clients, automatic billing, credit cards, all that stuff. Your accounting should be invisible, as my friend BJ Bueno said. That's not a part of your magic. You got to do that separately. Magicians are just scared of financials, and I get it. But look, you're going to put in time to learn magic tricks and magic secrets. Put in the time and read some magic books, read some sales books, learn about this stuff so you can feel as comfortable pitching yourself as you do doing your magic.
That's a great answer.
My 2 cents.
We have some more questions.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's talk. That sounds great.
Our friend Peter Wood, back on the East Coast, Maryland. What's up, Peter? Can you talk about business cards and how you use them while strolling? Mm-hmm. And he wants to also know where you can get a tie to burn, but that's the funny part. So business cards, how do you use them while strolling?
Great. So what's the value of a client for you, right? What's the value? What's more valuable, your business card in the hands of someone else or their card in your hands, right? Obviously, the latter is more important. So one of the things that I can tell you that's really important, besides handing out your business cards, is getting their cards. So if you find someone that says, "Oh my God, we're having a party, we'd love to hire you," you say, "Great, I'd love to get your card. Do you have one of your cards?" And you make it a simple, friendly thing. If they don't, you can say, "Here, you can write down your number. When do you want me to follow up with you?" And if they're like hemming and hawing, then they weren't serious about hiring you in the first place. It's one of those things that if someone says, "Oh, we want to hire you," and you say, "Oh, well, let me get your number. I'll follow up with you next week." If they're serious, then you know. It's a good thing. You know right away if they're serious or not. As far as handing out your own business cards, I don't like walking up. I've seen a couple of people do this where they walk up to a group and right away they hand out their business cards. Or at the end of it, they hand out their card to everyone. It's okay. It can work for you. And I'm sure plenty of people who are watching will say, "Oh, but I handed out a card and I got this gig." I understand. But I prefer not to give out my card until asked, because it really brings more value to that. Now they're interested. Now they're asking for it. You want to suggest to people that they can hire you, because one of the sad things, I can't tell you how often it happens, people will ask you, they go, "Do you do this anywhere else?" And it's like, "Yes, I do. This is what I do for a living. I do this everywhere." But people don't know that, so you have to educate the consumer to know that, oh, you do private events. But handing out the card needs to be a respectable thing. In Japan, they hand you the business card with 2 hands, you take it, they really value it. Mm-hmm. In America, it's like, "Oh, take it, it's like a toothpick and whatever." So we have a different attitude on the business cards. What really matters more is the emotional connection you make with the client, so that when you call and follow up with them, they go, "Oh, yeah, you're the guy, we love you, let's do it."
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that great answer. Our friend Irving Quant has a question. Do you have a rebooking system? And can you touch on that if you do?
A rebooking system?
Yeah.
One of these things, and Paul Gertner said this in a lecture recently, I think it's the best piece of advice, is that the best thing you can do is do your best and deliver your best every single time. And if you deliver your best every single time, then you'll get rebooked. That's my system. My system is to deliver and over-deliver so that the client says, "This is incredible, this is amazing, I love this, we want you back," and they bring you back year after year. I mean, my business is built on repeat clients. In fact, literally, if you're starting in magic, right, and you're thinking about doing this, let's say you're a part-time guy, you've been doing shows on and off, and you're thinking about doing it full-time, here's how I want you to think about it. I want you to make a list of all the shows that you're going to be able to do next year, of all the things that you are certain that you can book. So maybe company holiday parties, a couple of friends' birthdays, things like that. Make a list of all those things. And maybe it's best for you to look at your previous year, and you'll see that you've made this much of income. Then you predict for the next year how much of that is going to repeat, how much of that is guaranteed. And one of the reasons I was comfortable doing magic full time was I looked at my roster and I said, "Wait a minute, all of my clients had booked me my first year. Well, like 80% of them have booked me my second year. So wait a minute, if I just keep this level of business up, then in my third year, this is how much business I'll have because I'm also adding constantly." Do I have booking systems like computer systems and things to run and that help us connect to our clients? Yes, absolutely. There's lots of software out there that's very helpful for you to stay connected to your mailing list and rebook your clients. And I encourage you to have a mailing list and connect to your people. You know, I send out a monthly mailing, and no one ever replies about what I wrote about. But always 2-3 people reply going, that reminds me I need to hire you. And so it's funny because I'll talk about the news or I'll talk about something that happened or an exciting fundraiser that we're doing. No one cares. But the one thing they go, oh, wait a minute, we wanted to hire this guy. I'm so glad he sent me that email. So collect business cards. I won't even go into this, but the very first thing you should be doing is constantly collecting people's information, saving that information so you can build your mailing list so you can personally follow up with people. That's at the heart of your business.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, no, speaking about, let's go back to when you were 14.
Yeah.
And you rode your bike without the bell. And you went into the restaurant and you were in shorts and shirt and they let you do your thing and you were surprised. Now nowadays, you know, obviously you've been doing this for so long, you obviously can give much better and more sound advice. And Juan is asking, how would you recommend a teen to get a restaurant gig? Because clearly I think it's a difference between an adult coming in versus like a kid.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
and so what do you recommend for that?
You know, I recommend honesty. That's my best advice, is that if you're a teenager and you're young and you're starting out, that's what you want to tell the manager. You want to walk into that place and you want to say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm an amateur magician. I've been doing this now for a year, 2 years at private parties, and I don't know if you're aware, but there's restaurant magicians around the country that do this professionally. I'd like to do this myself one day. Could we set up a trial for a month where I come in every Friday, every Thursday, and I do magic for you? And you know, these professionals charge upwards of hundreds of dollars. For this time, because I'm starting and we're starting, I'd love to do it for half that price. And a month from now, if you feel that I'm delivering value for you, then I'd like to negotiate a price that's similar to what other professionals make in the area. So.
And even then, you didn't say free.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I understand it's tempting to do free events, but do free events when it's for a good cause. But realistically, when you're doing a restaurant gig, I tell my clients that I don't get paid to do the show, that I do the show for free. This is what I tell my clients. When my clients try to negotiate on time, they go, well, we only want you there for half an hour instead of an hour. I say, look, the show's free. I get paid to prepare and to travel. That's what I'm there for. So it's my hours of preparation and my years of practice and the hours it takes me to travel to get to the gig. That's what you're paying for. Whether it's a half an hour or an hour on stage makes no impact for me. It's all about that preparation.
Okay.
So.
Well, great. Juan, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. Look, I know it's crazy, but I was 14 when I went to this restaurant, and I probably shouldn't have been there. If I were to give myself advice, I would stop myself and go, don't do it. You know, you're hurting the chances of professionals everywhere. But the truth of it was that I was a passionate 14-year-old kid, and my passion shone through. You know, there's magic camps around the country right now. I've been teaching at Tannen's Magic Camp for a long time. There's Sorcerer's Safari and other places. And these kids are so great. They're teenagers. They're just passionate about learning and going out there. And if you're a young magician watching this, I encourage you to go out there. But I encourage you to also uphold a high level of standard and know that there's other professionals in the area. And so one of the best things you can do is you can reach out to those professionals and ask if you can cover for them. Ask if you can shadow them. When I've had young magicians work for me, and we have interns, Alec and Sebastian, who are watching this right now, that have been a great part of what we do, and you got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort into it. And if you know, here's the best part. If you're a young magician, I remember I had a student who was also 14, I think I was 19 at the time, and I had been teaching him magic at home, doing private lessons, and he was doing good for about 2 years. And then I asked him, I said, you're ready? Come do the restaurant gig with me. And he shadowed me for about 3 weeks. Then I watched him for a week without doing any magic. And then I sent him off on his own. 3 months later, his mom tells me that he has grown more in these last 3 months than he had in the previous all those years. That the act of going out there and performing for a live audience fundamentally transformed him because it allowed him to perform live. So if you're a young magician, I encourage you to go out there and perform. Do it. Go out there. Kick butt. Just be professional, okay? Good luck.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
with that said, with the rest within the restaurant world, there's you were saying to me before, there's two types, and I'm sure you want to talk about that, and you have some stuff prepared. And
I do. I've got so much stuff prepared. I do. It's like there's so many things that I want to tell magicians about this stuff because I really learned it's a whole new world. So maybe I'll give you a little more of the timeline of how this kind of happened, how this all came about. And then I've got some particular advice for the corporate structure, and I've also brought along some videos. I'm going to share with you some never-before-seen videos from our internal training that we put together, stuff like that. You know, man, where do I start? Well, I tell you what, it started like this, is after doing restaurants on my own for a good, I guess, 12 years, I was given the opportunity to speak to owners from the Melting Pot chain. It was one particular chain. And they were in Orlando for their national conference. And so I got to speak to 150 of them. I got the standing ovation. The next day, they hired me to speak to all their managers. So I flew out. This is January 2010. I flew out to San Diego. I spoke to their managers, and every one of them received our marketing folder. And I started a company called Restaurant Magic Business after the Michael Amar audio tape for the same name. And I realized that if I'm going to start helping magicians around the country get this, I'm going to be dealing with corporations. I have to be a corporation myself. I have to act like a corporation. I have to do everything that a corporation does. And so not only did we create a company that has all of these structures that a corporation has, but we also acted that way. And we did studies. I mean, literally, we worked with the restaurant to do studies on seeing how magic impacts the business on a local location. We did field tests at 3 different locations and compared it to others over 6 months. We did a lot of really cool stuff. And I learned things that I think when I start to tell magicians, it scares them off. Because what I realized is that the things that we need to know in order to make this a really successful job go so far beyond the tricks that we do that it's almost like crazy how much more you need to learn. But I'm going to share this stuff with you, and I don't want to scare you off. Instead, I want to inspire you to go learn. And if you want to do this, if you want to get together with a group of people and reach out to restaurants locally, or if one day you want to try to build a national business like I did, good luck, bless you. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And truly one of the most difficult things was dealing with artists. Dealing with magicians was what drove me mad. I started the business, I spoke to the managers, and then I spent about 6 months following up. I spent 6 months calling every one of these restaurants and getting them to be interested, getting them to do a trial night. And then for 2 years, we held seminars in Orlando where magicians came from around the country. And we didn't do any tricks. It was 2-3 days of brand standards. Here's how we dress. Here's how we approach. One of my favorite exercises that we do in our seminar, and we still do this, is everyone writes down their opening competency statement, right, what they think their statement is. Then we go around the room, we all introduce ourselves 30 times, we shake hands, and then we come back and we discuss this. And you hear different things. You're like, oh, that was really bad, that was really good. And then together we write a consistent competency statement. And it was an amazing seminar. I loved doing it. It's very fulfilling to talk not about the tricks, but about the higher level things. And we ended up growing and having magicians in 26 melting pots around the country. And it was quite a success. And then a lot of pain started where I was dealing with artists around the world. So I decided to give the restaurants directly to the performers. And I pulled back to focus on corporate work and be focused on Central Florida. But even now, in the city where we're filming now in Sacramento and in places around the country, there's magicians performing at these restaurants. And it makes me incredibly proud. We did something like 1,500 shows in the first year, got 150 million media impressions, and we made $1 million in revenue over the first 2 years. So I was really proud of what we did, and I hope that it helped a lot of magicians. Most importantly, though, I hope it inspires other magicians to, as I've talked before, work as a team and learn more. Let me show you a little video, because I want to show you, again, magicians, I quit lecturing. I quit the magic world. I totally went into a whole different directions. I went from being flown out to an event, getting a paycheck, and getting applause, to instead flying out myself and some of my team members to Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, and holding lunch and learns for restaurant owners. So we would call up 80 restaurants in a city. Our magicians locally would visit them. We'd follow up with them that I'd fly into that city. I'd buy lunch for all these owners. I'd pitch them on having the idea, and then maybe one of them would do a trial night. And so it was crazy because here I was going to the National Restaurant Trade Show with my team. I was paying for everyone to attend. We're paying to stay. We're paying to travel. And we're not even getting a contract, much less a paycheck. But it was one of those things where I truly believed my confidence was there and my willingness to spend. I've never made a dime off of anything but magic. It's what I do full time. It's what I've always done. I invested about $150,000 into this company, into building it, into hiring the web developers, the programmers. I mean, this is an example of the marketing kit. I'll show you real quick. This is the marketing kit that every manager received whenever they came up to me, and it said, give your guests a magical experience. And so it told them what they get out of this. And this is when they open it up. If we can zoom out a little bit, they can see this was the folder. And it told them, and by the way, all of this is available on restaurantmagicbusiness.com, right? So if you go to restaurantmagicbusiness.com, this is all up there. If you wanted to take all this stuff, there's 3 little parts here, working with you, your team, and your restaurant. When the owner pulls this out, it says, hey, you peaked. You know, you want a free trial night. And this, I designed this with Michael Eaton, who's pictured here in the photo with one of the restaurant owners. These are the restaurants where I grew up working. And this is all online. If you're thinking about doing restaurant magic, go online and steal this from me. Because learning this stuff, learning what owners, what questions they have, is really important. You'll be able to overcome all the objections. Also, on our webpage, there's a blog, right? And so I put together this blog. There's about 2-3 years of postings on there, and they're meant to overcome every objection. I mean, I remember attending a business conference in Vegas, and my biggest issue at that time was the objections I was getting from the restaurant owners. And the hardest one was, one owner says to me, well, our customers don't like being interrupted. And I was like, God, what do I say to that? I had to fight that for such a long time. And finally, someone at this business conference, my friend Mina, says to me, says, have you ever been interrupted by a beautiful blonde? It makes you think for a second, right? And it stops him. It's one of those cute little things.
Right.
But it allowed me, because that was the hardest part at that point, is that I was fighting all these objections, right? I was trying to figure out. So if you go on the webpage and you look at the blog, you'll see interruptions in your restaurant. And I get to address that. And I said, magic is the best interruption you can possibly have. There's a difference between being interrupted for something bad and being for something good.
Right.
And so I had to explain to the restaurant owners who were concerned about that, is that we're a good interruption. Right? And I really encourage you. It's like, I'm not running that business. I'm not hiring magicians in restaurants right now. So I encourage you, if you're thinking about doing it, go online, read those blog posts. You'll learn all the objections that restaurant owners have. You'll see the years that I put into writing and editing and making videos and doing all that stuff in order to educate the marketplace. And the advice I got from business professionals was, don't do it. When I started this company, I said, don't do it. They said, look, if you're the first one educating a market, you're going to get killed. And I did. It was the most difficult, painful thing in the world. Now the people that are going to come after me have a much easier road ahead of time. You know, when you're trying to educate a whole marketplace, and I was going to these trade shows, national restaurant shows, it was a lot of work. I'm so incredibly grateful for the lessons that I received from this. And I encourage magicians to continue doing it. And let me show you this video, and then I'll tell you some of the secrets that you also need to know. If you are going to do this on a corporate level, there's other secrets you need to know.
Perfect.
But first, let's play this little video for you.
Roll tape.
Let's do it. You love saying that.
Okay, honestly, I was surprised. I was surprised at how well it was received, because I thought maybe going around to the tables would be distracting for the customers, but it's been fantastic. It's so well done that I think it meshes perfectly with what we do.
The people who really enjoyed it were the adults. It was like more than anything, when I had a table of 5 or 6 adults, or even a business meeting or something like that, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. I don't think I've ever had a table that has not said that they love the magic. And so it gives me an in to start talking and connecting on a different level with them, rather than just how's the food and all those things.
If people are standing around waiting, that's not necessarily a good experience. But if they can spend time with a magician who just amazes them and who has a nice personality, it makes for a better start to the evening and makes the rest of the evening much easier.
The restaurant industry is not an exact science. It never has been, and it never will be. Some things happen. Sometimes there's something gets mixed up in the kitchen. You need a little more time. I feel like we have a tool that a lot of other people don't have, which is that on a Friday, Saturday night, busy, everybody's having a great time, but suddenly something got mixed up in the kitchen. I need to buy 10 minutes at my table, and I'm kind of like, oh God, how am I going to fill this gap? And then I realize Kostya's here. So when you come by the table and you add an element that they weren't expecting that makes that evening even more memorable, even better, people are going to look back and say, not only do I want to come back to Del Frisco's because of what an amazing experience I had, but that night was everything I wanted it to be and more. that's absolutely going to affect the tip.
The investment in the Magic has been fantastic because we're getting exposed to people who wouldn't necessarily see Del Frisco's. So it's just been, I guess, a synergistic effect. You know, it's one great thing and it just keeps building.
Do I think a magician helps in that? I do, because all those little intangibles, the saying hello when they first get in, the having somebody there to say goodbye when they leave, and the remembering people's names and calling them by name and remembering their drinks, that's how you get call parties and that's how you make money.
I think if we didn't have Magic at Del Frisco's and I saw how well it worked at another location, I would certainly be interested in trying it out.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah, and that was just one example of a video that we put together from a client that I've been working with consistently. They changed their name recently to their family name, so now they're Christner's Restaurant in Orlando. If you're ever in Orlando, I highly recommend it. Again, it's the best place around. And that was one of the videos that we used to film to show to people as an example how restaurant owners can be happy. But we also did a lot more. So I had to produce a series of training videos for our magicians. So I'll play just a couple little clips from that. We have another little video, and I'll kind of talk over this video for you. We put together videos that needed to teach the magicians what this is about. Because you're not just a magician performing by yourself. You're going to be a part of the team. Make them feel important. Every guest who walks in gets to have a personal experience. They get to have a one-on-one interaction. Yeah, and these are just little clips that I wanted you to see. Here's more restaurants that we put together with the owners.
People coming in asking about it. I mean, they saw the lobby poster, and you're
whenever we have a meeting that calls for them to be here at 8:30 in the morning.
It's casual fine dining. And
it's David again there.
The Magic is
I knew that we had to educate again the whole marketplace, so I wanted them to feel good. So here's the National Restaurant Trade Show that we went to. I'll tell you a funny story about it in a second. So this is Florida Restaurant News. They wrote this article about us, so I made sure to stop by the booth and get to know them. And I met also the people who own Restaurant Business Magazine, and they were kind enough to write an article about us as well. And so when you're talking about press, what you really need to do in a world, in the business world, is you need to provide value. That's kind of the key thing, is if you're going to be doing this, you need to provide value to the media, you need to provide value to the restaurant owners. Everything you're doing is all about providing value for these people. When I knew that we were going to be doing this kind of thing and doing magic nationally at restaurants, this was a cool thing. This was really cool. And I've never shared the next video you're going to see, but here's what I did, is I thought, okay, we're hiring the magicians, and they're starting off, and they're going to be doing magic there, and I'm sending the restaurant a nice little information package that tells them all about who we are and what we do. But man, it's so boring and so corporate. How can I make this magical? Okay, and here's a little video of what we did in order to introduce the concept of magic to melting pot restaurants around the country.
Roll clip.
This point says to show both sides of this card to your entire team and read out loud what's written to the other side. Both sides of the card. See what I see. Now I'm going to read the other side and have different people give an example of what each point means to them. We do the following to amaze our guests. Number one is manage expectations. Anybody give me an example of that? Anticipate needs. Go above and beyond. Increase delight. Commit to a perfect night out. And now we will add one more. You see what I see?
Ah.
It says magic.
Oh, that's really cool.
So this message goes out to the staff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. So this is a little card that we put together, and I'll show you. We can cut to the overhead camera here. This one is just a little bit burned because I was just kind of showing this to somebody the other day. But this is what it said. It was so cool. It said, "Your owner and management in your hands is an important card. Gather your whole entire team, show both sides of the card, read the final sentence, so give them the descriptions, and then on the other side," and this one's a little fading because I literally just took it out of the freezer here, but I used a friction pen in order to write this stuff, and then I wrote certain things with the first letter. So this is now a real pen here. And so now what they did is they gathered the whole staff around, and this is the pot here, and I would take the lighter to kind of influence the heat, and you'll see that the ink starts to slowly vanish, and then all that's left And of course, with the steam, it looks even cooler, is all that stuff is gone, and then all that's left is magic. Bam. And so this was a way for us to communicate our brand and show them that what we do is magical. I mean, I know it's a small little thing, right? But it was really cute, and it made me really, really happy to do this kind of thing. And again, it communicated to them that I'm also a magician. And that not just I'm a magician, but that our company is magical in a sense. And so this is just a cute little example of how when you're thinking about running your business and you're thinking about your brand, it's not about your tricks, it's not about you, it's about the audience, and how can you impact the audience to make the biggest impact.
I love that.
Thanks, guys.
And one of the coolest things about that is that you're leaving them with a piece of magic and you're not even there.
Yeah. I know, we thought about
sending
them decks of cards, we thought about a bunch of different stuff, but that was the thing that we ended up doing. Yeah, again, it was just something where when I say that I've really tried balancing the art and the business of magic, like that was one of those things where I'm working so hard in the business, but I'm trying to find ways to bring the art into it so that I feel like a healthier individual. And when I say that I found the art of business to be fascinating, it's because I have. I love all the stuff that I've learned in the business world. When I was first hired to do conventions and to perform for a large group of people at a corporate event, I would get there early in the morning and I'd sit there in the back of the room and I'd pay attention and I'd listen and I'd learn and I'd watch all the speakers, all the professional speakers and all the famous people they had that were coming in from the White House, all these associations that have speakers like Colin Powell and all these people. I would listen. When the president of the company came on stage to talk about their financials, I would listen. And so when I started my business with restaurants, I took that same advice and I put it into the magic world. And it's been many valuable lessons. And I hope that, I know that there's many professionals out there that are watching this that I've worked with already. And for those like young magicians that are watching this as well, who knows, perhaps one day we'll work together as well. Magic is such a beautiful thing. When we announced this lecture, I got an email from a magician that I used to watch on World's Greatest Magic. And he said that he'd never met me before, but was fascinated by this. And I thought, isn't it amazing how things just come together like that, where how so many years later you get to connect with your heroes. And so I hope that one day, whoever you are that's watching this, I hope we get to work together as well.
Sure.
Cool. So let's get serious. Before we finish off the restaurant stuff, I kind of want to give a few more particular bits. And I wrote a long article on this, and it was almost like a depressing, scary article, because when magicians read this, they went, oh my God, this is like awful. I'm never doing restaurant magic. And I wasn't trying to scare anyone off. I just wanted magicians to know the reality of the restaurant market. The first thing I learned is the real reason why most magicians don't get restaurant gigs. Right? The real reason that they don't get restaurant gigs is because running a restaurant is difficult. Running a restaurant is incredibly difficult, and the profit margins are tiny. You can't even imagine what they are. And so oftentimes a magician will get a gig, and then 3 months later there'll be a management turnover, and they'll get fired, and they'll go, oh man, well, I can't believe I lost that gig. Well, the truth of it is that that manager shouldn't have hired you in the first place. The reason there's a staff turnover is because management was making poor decisions. Poor decisions on the food, poor decisions on seating, on decor, and on the entertainment they were hiring. Oftentimes it's not your fault, but it's the fault of management. Running a restaurant requires more things that we realize. And so that's why, all restaurants work as a team. They have departments. They have front of the house, back of the house. Mm-hmm. And so you need to be aware of this. And when you start working, if you want to get the gig and keep the gig, you really want to ingrain yourself with them on a corporate level, right? And even if it's a privately owned restaurant, it's still a corporation. But at least it's a mom and pop place, a privately owned place. Now, if you're thinking about going out there and getting restaurants, I encourage you to go for the privately owned restaurants, okay? Because they'll be the easiest ones to work with at first. It'll be easy for them to make the decision. They'll be quicker, and they'll be more enjoyable for you. If you decide to venture into this Herculean task of approaching corporations, then here's the checklist of things that I want to tell you about, okay? First of all, study the industry. It's immense, okay? It's a huge industry, bigger than we realize. Going to an IBM or an SAM Magic Convention is one thing. Going to the National Restaurant Show, where there's 60,000 people, it's a whole different matter. 12% of America's citizens work in the food service industry. So when I say you can get a job at a restaurant, anybody can get a job at a restaurant. What kind of restaurant do you want to be working with? Part of it is knowing what objections restaurant owners are going to have. And when I wrote my business plan, part of it was analyzing what your competition is. And I thought, okay, well, my competition, you know, if a restaurant owner is going to hire a magician, what are their other options? Okay, they can do balloon animals, right? They can do flowers, let's say, right? Maybe they can get away free desserts. That's one thing they can do. And then I realized my biggest competition was nothing. That most restaurants are doing nothing. So when I'm trying to convince the restaurant owners that they should hire me, it's not because, oh, hey, don't hire that guy. I'm a better magician than he is. No, forget that. It's, listen, you need a magician because this is what it's going to make. This is what's going to make an impact for you. This is what's going to get the clients back. So you need to tell the restaurant owner that their competition is doing nothing, and they need to step up, and they need to take it to another level. And you really want to study the industry. Once you understand the industry as a whole, then you can really focus in on your personal territory. And this is where knowing demographics is really crucial. Now, you can go to your library, and you can learn a lot there. There's a lot of public data out there that'll tell you. Now, during the last few years where some people had difficulty in business, I guarantee you, in your town, in my town, in every town, maybe there was 75% of restaurants that were slow, but there were still little batches, little areas that were booming. Still, it was like everywhere on the news you hear, oh, it's a bad economy, but yet there's one neighborhood that's busy every single night. So you need to study your local demographics, and that'll also help you to charge more, because you've got to find the restaurants that are making money so that they can afford to hire you as well. Understand restaurant operations, okay? You don't have to get an MBA, but it really helps if you know all the different positions of the restaurants, and that you know, so you don't have to be like me when I was a kid standing in the dirty kitchen waiting for a check. You really want to know how they operate. You want to talk to them on their language. Once again, if you go to our Restaurant Magic Business website, you'll see all the blog posts, you'll see all these things, but do research. There's also local associations. So we went to the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Show every year. I attended that with my team. We walked around, we got to meet people, and it was great because by year 2, the restaurant owners that had hired us were there telling others how good we were. So it really works out well, and so learn the operations, learn their language, learn their industry. If you're going to work with these restaurants, be aware of their margins, okay? Not enough people know this. I won't go into, well, here, I'll give you basic numbers, okay? I usually ask magicians what they think the percentage that a restaurant profits. And they usually will say like 10%, 12%. The truth of it is that fine dining restaurants make about 2.5% profit, okay? Other restaurants where have a check average of $15 to $25 are making maybe 3.5% profit, okay? So that means that a restaurant has to be making at least $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million. And these are all statistics that are out there and available if you know where to look, and just going to the library will show you which demographic areas are succeeding in your area, which restaurants are making how much money, and whom you should approach. By knowing these margins and knowing things that you would normally not think of because we're busy learning card tricks, you're going to be much more equipped to go out there and get that gig because you'll be able to talk to the restaurant owner in their language. Finally, create a community. Just like I've been talking about having a team that you can work on, create a community and also join theirs. You know, you have to have a different perspective. It takes a very specialized team to run a restaurant, and it takes a team to be yourself. There was a cool article in the New Yorker where they used the Cheesecake Factory as an example of how hospitals should run. They said that the Cheesecake Factory, with their menu that's like 100 pages, can make anything, and their computer systems are what allows the back of the house, the kitchen, to make everything on time, to bring everything out together so that the food is delivered to you. Learning all these things is amazing. You know, when I started working with restaurant owners, one of the lessons I learned was you don't auction off the food. I'm sure you've been there at a restaurant where someone walks up and goes, all right, who had the chicken? Here you go, right? You don't do that. That's #1 rule in customer service. So these are the little things that you learn from the front of the house and the back of the house. And I'm in the business of customer service. I happen to be a magician, but I'm in the business of delivering customer service. And that's what I'm there to help the restaurant to do. So if you're going to go into the corporate world, here's the checklist, all right? You're going to study the industry. And let me see if I got my marker here. You're going to study the industry, get to know who they are, who are the players in the national industry, and then who are the players in your local industry. Really get to understand the operation so you know where you fit in. Be aware of the margins. Remember that usually they're making 2.5 to 3.5%. So if you want to charge a restaurant money for being there, you also have to show them that you're bringing people in. And create a community and join theirs. Become a part of it. As you do this, you're going to get a lot of very interesting objections along the way. And, you know, I had one restaurant owner say, well, look, if I'm paying you this much, then you have to show me that you're bringing in at least $1,000 of business for me each night that you're there. I said, okay, that's an interesting challenge. He said, yeah, look, he goes, for the same money that I'm going to hire you, I can right now hire a 3-piece band, and they can play for 4 hours, and they've also got a following, so they're going to bring in their own people. What you got, Magic Boy? Right? And so suddenly I went, wow, this is serious, okay. So what did I do? I reached out to marketing companies who were doing email deals. So we came up with like a magic dessert. So then we emailed all the people in that area that said, here's a coupon for a magical dessert. Come on Friday night when you see the magician and bring this in. This allowed us to track. So now I can show to the restaurant owner, hey, 4 desserts were redeemed this week, then 6 desserts were redeemed the next week. See, we're moving up. That's one little thing you can do. Again, it's not just me, but I'm reaching out to other professionals that do their job, people who run other businesses that are congruent with yours. Wow. That's one of the things that you really, really want to learn.
That's restaurant magic.
That is, man. It's so funny. I love this stuff. And again, like anybody can go out there and get a gig. And I encourage you to do it if you're thinking about it. But I also really encourage you to learn more about it than you ever have before. Use the resources online and reach out to me if you have questions, but reach out to your community. And I'll tell you one thing, a little feedback. If you're going to reach out to me, and I usually say this to young magicians. When young magicians, when I'm teaching them, I teach them how to talk to other magicians. And I teach young magicians, I say, look, if you're going to go up to another magician, don't just run up to them and go, hey, I'm a magician, teach me how you did that. Right? Instead, if you're going to do that, you want to walk over to the magician, you want to say, hi, Mr. So-and-so, I'm a young magician, I've been learning magic, can I show you what I learned, can you give me some pointers? Right? And whenever a kid wants to learn magic from me, I always send them to the library. I say, go read books and then show me the effort.
Right.
So I love helping magicians, but most importantly, I want to see effort. And so if you're going to reach out to me ever, whether it's on Twitter or online or on Facebook, anywhere at all, don't just say, hey, how do you do this? But say, here's what I'm doing. How can I make this better? And that's how we can all work. Because look, I believe that the advice that I'm putting out right now is going to come back to me years later from someone who took it to a whole different level. And they're going to say, hey, Coach, I learned something. I did this with this. Check this out. And I'm going to go, oh, my God, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing. Right? It's all about lighting the candles and having the room be brighter and elevating the art of magic. And I know that restaurants are just one small thing. I know they're one of the many rooms in the house of magic. But because I've been ingrained in it for 18 years, it's where I've learned, it's where I've grown. I love it, I respect it, it's a huge part of my business, and I hope it makes the same amount of impact in your profession as it has for me.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Thank you, guys.
I want to touch on a couple of things, too, before we get out of the restaurant. So there's so much we can talk about with that. In the video, I noticed that you were, one of the parts you were performing, you were behind the bar. Now, I did bar magic for about 10 years, and I learned, especially in Maryland, you had to have a bartender's license in order to work behind a bar because liability issues.
Yes, yes.
So that's another important thing. You check with your state and figure out where you can be at in the restaurant or where you can't be. And also with that said, too, I forgot what I was going to say for that second part. So,
well, and to say that, just so you know, what a great little find, because I also got behind the bar, just like the microphone in the Orlando Magic video, I got behind the bar for the video. I'm literally almost never behind the bar at that restaurant. So, and this maybe is a whole lesson in of itself, is that when you're creating videos, you need to know the perception, right? So for me, we were there in the restaurant, I wanted to get the shot, there's a bunch of people around the bar, hey, let's do this, But normally, I don't go behind the bar too often, and the biggest reason is because there's too much space between me and the audience. There's not only a big bar, but then there's all the stuff below that people can't see. All the drinks and bottles are here. So I'd rather go on the other side where I'm like this to you, as opposed to being 6 feet away and trying to make a connection.
Right.
You can also ditch and people will accuse you like, oh, you just stole that from there, or you just dropped it here. So that's one of the things I don't do behind the bar.
And then the second part, I remember now.
Good. I was covering it for you.
Is coming to a restaurant or a venue already knowing the business, like you said, know the business, is going to make them more open to hire you because they feel like you've studied, you've done your homework.
Yeah.
So even a young kid who done research can go in there and sound really confident. And
even
land
more
the gig.
so. A young kid that goes in and says, hey, I was looking at the demographics and I saw that you guys were killing it and your competition, which is this restaurant and this restaurant, are doing this and this for their marketing. I thought I'd offer you this. They're going to go, whoa, you're a kid and you know this? Oh my God, what else do you know? What else can you help us?
So that's super important. Well, in Restaurant Magic there, because we can go on, this can be hours and hours and hours. And I want to talk about, in the beginning you talked about how you start off with doing the close-up for your clients, and then you moved into kind of a parlor, so walk around, and then stage.
Mm-hmm.
So you're also an accomplished stage performer as well. And I know you have some stuff to share with us with that
Yeah.
as well. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. I'd love it. I know we have a little video kind of that maybe we can show that has a few of the things that I've been doing on stage. I slowly transitioned from being a card worker into being a full-time stage performer. Now I do this, a huge part of my gig is performing on stage, right? And so everything from banquets and country clubs, private parties, everything like that. And it started off with the close-up work, right? So it started off when I was hired for a private party.
Okay.
I would be hired to do magic for an hour, and at the end of the hour, I would walk up to the client and I would say, hey, if you want, we can gather everyone around and I can do a quick little show to finish up. And they would be really, really excited. They'd bring everyone together, and I would do a 5 to 10 minute show. And I would literally just do card magic because it's what I knew then, and it's what I did best. And slowly, after about a year of doing this, I finally got enough material of my own material that I had a half an hour show. Now, it takes time, and I know there's a lot of magicians out there that are interested in transitioning from close-up to stage. First thing I'll tell you is you can do it. It's going to require you learning different skills than you've ever had before. And it's going to require you to do different reading. Things like Ken Webber's Maximum Entertainment is a fantastic book. And it helped me a lot when I was putting together my stage show. And it's books like that are important to read and reread. Tamariz has a lot of great thoughts on stage magic and connecting to your audience and eye contact and connecting to different people, doing all these things. So the more you can learn, the better. I'll say a couple of maybe little things, a couple of tips that I can give for stage magicians that are interested in doing this. When you're working on your material, start small. Book your show 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time for maybe 25 to 50 people. Private homes are the best way, and like I said, they're a great way to end the party. If you're a card guy, do your card magic. I really, really encourage you to do that. I encourage you to do, I did card on ceiling, cards across, thought of card, all the stuff that made me feel comfortable as a performer, I was able to do. Mm-hmm. Now, you also, as a stage performer, you'll also have crutch-like material, okay? What do I mean? For me, it was the vanishing bandana. Hack. Look, everybody does the vanishing bandana. It's a total little hack piece, right? And you can play the video too if you like. You can roll that video too. You'll see a couple clips of me performing on stage. Here's what you'll kind of learn is that when you start off doing stage magic, you're going to be doing other people's routines, and you're going to be wearing other people's shoes, so to speak. When I was when I did my very first stand-up show, I did the vanishing bandana, and I was scared out of my mind. I didn't know how to stand on stage. I didn't know how to get laughs. But doing someone else's routine allowed me to slowly get comfortable. Now, you see me here on stage. I'm laughing. I'm having a good time. That took like 10 years. That took like 10 years of doing shows until I finally got to the point. Now, that's not to discourage the young performers out there. It's just to encourage you to continue performing and know that you're always going to continue to grow and learn and to become better. So, stage magic is really, 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 really wonderful, but there's a whole set of skills that you really got to put together. Right?
Well, real fast, one of the things I noticed is that there wasn't one big illusion in there.
Yeah.
So we need to talk about that too.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll tell you a funny story. Is I was hired to do an illusion show. This great company I did in the French Caribbean. For my first year, I did this in the Caribbean for them. They loved it. Everything went great. They hired me again for the next year, this time in the Spanish Canary Islands. And I pitched them illusions because my friend had this big illusion with a bed and all this stuff. We're going to produce the girl, make her levitate. Biggest thing I'd ever sold. We're going to go out there and do it. And we shipped everything, and none of it arrived. Yeah, nothing arrived. It went to like Frankfurt instead of Madrid, and we flew out there, and it was the craziest emergency ever. And luckily, I had read the Tarbell course in magic. Okay, literally, Denny from Denny and Lee, that's his thing. He literally tries to tell everybody. He's like, they're sitting there on my shelf, and everyone's calling me, asking me what's new, when all they need to do is buy the Tarbell course in Magic. Luckily,
it's in Tarbell.
That's exactly.
Says, yeah.
And it is in Tarbell. It's one of the best things. Mark Stone, mentalist who lives in Orlando, told my dad when I was a kid, hey, listen, for his birthday, buy him volume 1 of the Tarbell course in Magic. We went to Daytona Magic, where Harry Allen sold my dad all 8 volumes because he's, sells that good, right? And so my dad bought 8 volumes, and he says still to this day that it's the greatest investment that he's ever made. And because I had read those books, we had enough material. I mean, literally, the trick that we did, one of the ones was they pick a page out of the catalog of the company, and then that page appeared inside of an orange, which was inside of a watermelon, which was inside of a briefcase, okay? And that was like what I would put together and a bunch of other stuff, but we did it. But that's when I said, and this was I think in 2006, that I'm never shipping anything again. Yeah. That I will not do illusions, I won't do any big boxes.
Did the girl get shipped too?
No, luckily she came with us.
I didn't know.
No, she came with us, and here's the cool thing, is that we actually pulled it off. The story is published in a book that Ivana Modé put out, which is a collection of stories, and it's in there. It's like a book of emergency stories, essentially, or funny stories of magic. But there were 2 builders there on the island that ended up having all this leftover wood, because they were building these beds that they sell, and we gave them the plans for the illusion. They built the whole illusion, and we ended up producing the girl. We had a collapsible Azra that my friend Darren invented, and we used it. We made the girl levitate, vanish. We did it all. We pulled it off. We really, really did. And also, just in case, the first trick we were going to do, we put the materials carry-on. Mm-hmm. And so we brought enough stuff to do the first illusion. We were able to build the rest, and then we were able to do the whole show. But so that's why I don't do illusions, to answer that question.
Props to Tarbell for that.
Yes, thank you. Really.
Just to kind of prove how powerful Tarbell is, Denny has said this, as well as Jeff McBride, that Lance Burton's show is basically all out of Tarbell for the most part.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for the most part, almost every one of his illusions came from Tarbell.
I believe that.
So
that's awesome.
So it helped you out.
It is. I was on the way here. Todd Carr from Miracle Factory gave me a DVD he has of a collection of books on theory and magic. And on my flight here, I had a couple layovers, and I literally read these books from 1888, 1932, all these amazing texts. And I swear to you that half the things that I wrote in my script for today to talk to you about were written in 1888. I feel redundant. I'm reading these books, 1911. They're saying the same exact things.
Well, you up the content, it's more relevant. You're not going, look here, kid, see? You're not talking.
But the truth, though, is that we all still need to grow. And the things that they complained about is the same things that I complain about, which is that we need to elevate the art of magic. And they were talking about that 150 years ago, too. Right. So it's really amazing.
So, a question I have, obviously you've developed a lot of magic for close-up. Magicians know you for that. Have you developed anything for stage or for parlor or anything like that?
Yeah, and that's probably the stuff that I've probably kept to my vest for the longest. Maybe one day I'll release some of this stuff, but after I stopped lecturing for magicians, for the last 6-7 years, most of my creations have been for the stage. And most of them have been for parlor and stage. I really love creating for that. I love scripting for that. And I'll show you in a moment a little piece that I do for that. Maybe a few more final little points if you're someone who's interested in doing it. If you're going to be going on stage, I encourage you to always do close-up beforehand. I always encourage you to warm up. If you're going to do this kind of thing, it really helps to, just like for TV, you're going to get warmed up. Check the lights, check the audio, check all the external things. I've recently learned this as I've been working with a production team. It's made my show so much better because it's not just me performing anymore. It's a whole team we're doing this. Right. But I've learned that the things that really make my show are the lights, are the backdrops, are the sound, is the music, all these extra things. And so that requires you working with others and making sure that you're not doing it, but that you're managing it right. Okay? What else? Routining is an important thing. When you go to routine your stage magic show, don't just go, okay, well, what trick should I do next? What trick should I do next? You want to routine your emotions, okay? You want to routine your stage show emotionally, and you want to know, how am I making them feel in the beginning? How am I making them feel in the middle? How am I leaving them at the end? And so my show is broken up into parts like that. The dinner show that I do is actually a 3-part show. So it's a 4-course meal and a show done in 3 parts. And so I've broken it up emotionally, where the first 15 minutes are for me to get to know my audience and to set the kind of the rules for the night, make sure that they're having fun and know that they feel great, so that they love it. Then they have the first course. Then I come back and I do a 40-minute set, which has one, it's a unity. There's a theme. I'm really proud of that. It took me 3 months to write and put together this whole entire 40-minute set. And then that's all about me being an artist and communicating a message. So that's my 40 minutes. Then when I come back to the third one, then it's playtime. And this is what I usually leave open. This is where I have the ending trick that I'm going to do, which is oftentimes like gypsy thread or something. And then before then, it's like an open space where I get to put in stuff that I'm working on, maybe something new. And so I structure it emotionally. Get to know them, blow them away with the most meaningful, powerful thing that you can do, leave them with a little sweet finish at the end. Hey guys, now we're just going to have fun, and da-da-da. So that's what I do, 1, 2, 3. That's the way I break it up. I was talking about the vanishing bandana earlier, and I joked that it's a hack piece. But it taught me how to stand there, and it taught me how to get applause. And it taught me how to get laughter and feel comfortable with the laughter. If you're a close-up magician, right, and close-up magicians, it's easier for close-up magicians to become stage magicians. Stage magicians, they're so rehearsed and so polished, it's sometimes more difficult for them to be genuine in the moment. Whereas close-up magicians, who are very, very good with people, it's easier for them to become then great stage magicians. It's okay to do hack pieces. They're your crutch. But get rid of them as soon as you can. Once I had half an hour of my own material and I got rid of the vanishing bandana, it was the happiest moment in my life. Now look, I know you're thinking, you're going, but wait a minute, that gets laughs, people love it. Look, I get it, but that's not your piece. Someone else invented it, it got stolen, it got passed on, and maybe you can create your own script for it, maybe you can do something different for it, but in general, you're wearing someone else's shoes, you're doing someone else's effect. And I encourage you, if you're going to develop your stage magic, read all of Tarbell, read Steinmeier, and there's a lot more stand-up magic being put out there right now that I think is really great. When I started See Magic Live as a company to promote magic around the world, I knew that there was a new wave coming. I knew that I wasn't the only one who was going to be doing a dinner show. And I know that everyone who's watching this right now, light bulbs are going off in your head and you're going, hey, maybe I should do a show in my area. Do it. Do it. Go out there and perform. Go out there and do it. You know, we have so much more that we can do, and don't just be stuck in your own little world. Don't think you're the greatest. Don't think you're the best. Don't let your ego override you. Put that ego down. Go out there, perform, challenge yourself. Do something that you haven't done before. And I can tell you, look, it hasn't been easy learning how to do stage magic or doing it on television or pitching international businesses and hiring us. None of this has been easy. Doing this isn't easy. All of this takes work, and it takes dedication. But when you put in the work, you get the results. So now I promised you a trick.
You did. You did.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I want to see it. I've never seen this before. So
this is cool. And in fact, it's kind of funny because the way I present it is in different ways. I do this on stage, and lights go down, music comes up, and we often have a video screen. Other times when I'm in a parlor situation, I will have these cards with me, and I use these jumbo cards, okay? And then I often do this in close-up scenarios where I just tell the story. I'm gonna do a mix of this where I'm gonna do this for the camera, and I'm also gonna do it for our live audience here. So I'm gonna kind of get into show mode, if you will, and I'll tell you a true story that I made up. Okay? I mean it. I think this is a mystery that was painted a long time ago, over 100 years ago in playing cards, and I discovered this little mystery. And tonight, all of us here together are going to discover who killed the King of Hearts. Now, some would say that it was a suicide, going so far as to call him a suicide king, but it is simply not true. And today, I will show you why. Now, first, sir, you'll play detective, if you don't mind.
Perfect.
We've got a pack of playing cards here, 52 different cards. I'd like, if you don't mind, I want you to cut the cards for me, if you would. And we're going to mark your cut for the time being. Perfect. And then I also have a little card, and everyone at home can play along. I'd like you to look for a card, not a king or a queen, but any number card that you see, and get a good one in your mind, and we're going to come back to that in just a moment. So now, why was this a murder? Well, one day, while looking at the cards, I discovered something very, very strange. I noticed that the King of Spades has 1, 2 hands, right? Mirror image, but he didn't have any sleeves showing. I noticed that the King of Diamonds also had 1, 2 hands, a mirror image, no sleeves showing. The King of Clubs, 2 hands, no sleeves showing. And it was only the King of Hearts who has not one, not two, not three, but 4 hands, an extra pair. I was very curious. Upon further examinations, I discovered that the hand that is resting on the chest and the hand that is committing the murder are 2 different sleeves. It is clearly someone else's hand killing the king. Whose hand is it? Well, the ladies were there at the party. And that night, when we lined them up for questioning, we discovered something very interesting. I noticed while the Queen of Hearts, Clubs, and Diamonds were looking at me, the Queen of Spades refused to look me in the eye. I was instantly suspicious. And no matter which way you turn her, she's always looking the other way. Upon further examination, we noticed that the Queen of Hearts, she's got 2 hands but no sleeves showing. The Queen of Clubs, 2 hands, no sleeves showing. The Queen of Diamonds, 2 hands, no sleeves showing. It is only the Queen of Spades that has her sleeves showing. And if you look closely and you look at that rich bloody red, and you look at that gold, black, gold, those 3 lines, and you look at the hand committing the murder, you'll see the same rich red, the same gold, black, gold. It is clear that she killed the king. Now, why did she do this? Was the murder set up to collect the insurance money? I don't know. We're not here to guess at motives. We're only here to look at the cold, hard facts. And that's the final evidence. The final evidence that was found at the crime scene by our detective. Now, when you looked at all of these cards here on the sheet, you at home and everyone here, which card did you think of? Was it the 6 of spades? Good. Because if you look at the card that was found by our detective, indeed it is the 6 of spades. And you see, there's a reason. Because it's not just any card. But you check, you go home tonight, you open up your pack of cards, take that old deck out of the drawer, and you'll discover this story is as true in my cards as it is in yours. Because in her hand, the killer holds a playing card. And not just any card, but the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of spades. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is closed. Oh! Thank you.
So entertaining.
I know. I love it. I love it. No, I surprised myself, right? I came up with the concept. It took me 5 years of sitting on this idea until Bob Elliott finally showed me that the Queen was holding the 6 of spades, and then it all finally came together because I noticed this like 10 years ago. And I was like, man, it's a great trick about murder. What am I going to do with it one day? And then Bob Elliott showed me the Queen holding the playing card, and it was the perfect ending, and it all came together. And I put this out on the market. I published this in Magic Magazine. You know, if you want to hide something, put it in print, right? So I put this in Magic Magazine, and I put this out on the market. And then I really started doing it in my shows more than ever before. And the response has been tremendous, right? Now, this is out there. And I even tell my audiences, right? I acknowledge the fact that now when I'm on stage that I came up with a story, I discovered this, and now I share this with magicians around the world. So you might see someone else performing this and telling this story as well, right? I'm happy with that. I'm letting my audience know that maybe one day you'll expect to see this. So hey, if you out there and if you do this, maybe someone will come up to you and say, hey, I saw Kostya do this, right? And you'll get to acknowledge that we're all a community and we get to learn from each other. But this is one of those things that allows you, it packs flat, right? And you can get this, it's in magic shops, but it plays huge. I have this in my briefcase. It's always ready to go. It's a 2.5, 3-minute routine that is perfectly scripted. I have it with music on stage, and it's like I kind of just like how everyone here in the studio really responded, like, wow, that was awesome. It's not like, wow, you're amazing. It's not, oh, you're the best. It's more like, oh my God, I never knew this existed. I've been playing with cards all my life, and you just told me something amazing about something I own.
Right.
And the story makes sense, and the applause is thunderous. It's genuine, and it plays a really crucial part in my show where I do a lot of talking, as I do, and then halfway through, music comes on, it gets dark, and I tell this dramatic story. So whereas every other piece of mine has volunteers and spectators, this is the only one that I have them pick the cards in the beginning, and I do a crisscross force. I mean, literally, I do the simplest thing now in the world. I do the crisscross force. I do the force off the card, too. You get this in there. And I tell them, don't think of a king or a queen, and there's the 6. It's the only card they can see, so it's been manufactured for that. And then I do this piece, and it creates a different type of wavelength in my show. So, you know, if you use this piece, right, if you perform this in your show, you will learn a lot of things. And then hopefully, eventually, you'll be able to substitute it with something that you created that does the same thing for you. So this piece, for me, allows me to stand on stage alone with music and tell a dramatic story. It has a different texture to the show. So if you try it and you do it, you'll be Kostya, you'll walk my shoes, and then eventually the goal is for you to eliminate that and put something else in that fulfills the same purpose. That's how you will grow your show over time.
Wow.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
And that's important to talk about as well. That trick has such a maximum impact and very little technique needed in terms of like card handling and things like that.
Yes,
you're doing
absolutely.
very little technique and you're having a maximum impact effect, and that's such a great and powerful effect.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I'm looking for more of my notes here. What else I can share? We got so much stuff here. But yes, you're absolutely right. It's a thing that takes a small amount of time, but it does pack the most amount of meaningful impact.
And you say that's available? We can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Who Killed the King, and you can get that at your local magic shop. I think we just recently released that to a bigger community. So if you don't see it now, wait a day, and then you'll see it online.
Absolutely. That's a pretty awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
I had to.
We have your awesome jar here.
Yeah, I'll put a quarter in later. Yeah,
and then to recap, just on the stage show stuff is, again, it's all about preparation. It's, as I tell my clients, that what I really get paid for is not the show, but what I get paid for is the preparation. And so that's what you really want to do. You want to prepare as much as possible. I can't tell you how much work I do to get ready for my shows. Here's something interesting. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but I have found very many magicians charge very little for their stage shows.
I was just going to start talking about that. The
Yeah?
fees for stage magic versus other fees.
Here's what I think. The reason that magicians charge so little for their stage shows is they put very little thought and effort into their stage shows. That's what I think. I've been really shocked that magicians are like, oh yeah, here's my close-up show, and for another $15 I'll come in and do a half-an-hour stage show. It's like, what? Not $15, but I'm exaggerating. But I have always charged very differently for my stage show versus my close-up magic. And I've put in a ton of time into my stage show. I mean, literally, my close-up magic takes me very quickly. I can prepare really quickly, and I can show up to a gig. But when you're hiring me to do a half-an-hour stage show, I'm going to spend 4 to 6 hours that day preparing, rehearsing. And all the original material that I have in my show takes a lot of prep, takes a lot of things, because it's original, and that's what my clients are paying me for. Mm-hmm. So use stage magic to help you grow your fee and to be able to get bigger and better clients, and plan on doing that over time. Don't rush into it. Like I said, start 5-10 minutes at a time, develop your material slowly, charge them a reasonable amount, and as you grow your business, you'll do more and more. My business has literally consistently grown for 15 years, right? I've been tracking it for maybe 12. I've had 12 consistent years of growth because I take care of my clients. Those clients rebook me, and I spread the word, and I get more clients. And becoming a stage magician became an important part of that, and it took a long time. It took a long time for me to be comfortable with it. But if you're a close-up guy, I promise you, you can do it. I encourage you to try it. And just pay your dues, do the work. It'll take time, but it'll happen.
Do you have someone calls you and they want to hire you to do a stage show, and they say, well, what do you charge? And you say, this is my fee.
Okay.
This is how long I give you.
Okay.
Now, if they come back at you and say, well, we only had a budget of this, would you come back and say, sorry, then I'm not the right guy? Or would you say, okay, well then for this amount of minutes, I'll do these amount of tricks? Do you tailor the amount of time and budget that they have for you to what effects you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And in negotiations, and I encourage anyone again to read business books, and on negotiation, if someone says to you, well, can you do it for this, and they come down on the price, well, then you have to also negotiate, and you have to say, well, then I'm not going to be able to do this. And part of creating your stage show is that I have structures of my stage show. So when a client says to me, well, we only have this much, I say, okay, great. Well, instead of doing 45 minutes and me bringing out the elephant and the dancing girls, why don't we do 15 minutes? And I literally, and here's the most important thing that you have to explain to your clients, is that they think you doing 15 minutes on stage and 45 minutes on stage is the same thing. The thing about being a magician is no one sees how hard we work. Right? A juggler shows off his skills. Magicians, we got to hide it. You can't tell your client, listen, I've got to do this and this and this and this kind of prep. They're not going to understand that. But that's part of what you have to get them to understand. So what I say to them is, I say, no problem. Listen, if that's the budget, I can work down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate this and this, because that's going to prevent me from having to set up for an extra 2 hours and have my tech crew come in and do a full rehearsal. But if this is the budget, why don't we finish off with 10 minutes on stage, and I'll bring the most effective material. Let me send you a video link so you can see what that is, and then they go along with that. So absolutely, you really do need to tailor your magic. You don't just go, okay, I'll do it.
Right. In that voice, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Now, that's...
I found my checklist. I have so many papers here. Let's cut to this real quick, and I'll just finish off our time on stage. Again, it starts off with your tricks, right? So do what you do best. Know your time. Bring extra magic. This sounds like the exact advice that we talked about for TV, right? And then prepare your checklist. That's one of the things that I really didn't go over in detail right now, but preparing a checklist and making sure that you check everything off before you go on stage is one of the things that's going to make you feel good and comfortable. So if you've done all that, then you feel good about your tricks. Now for yourself, check the lights, audio, seating, anything external. And then these are 3 separate things. Write your script and memorize your script. Practice your technique, right? So practice. And then rehearse your blocking. These are 3 different things. And I've learned a lot from doing this with my team and having these rehearsals. In rehearsals, we practice the blocking. But I better have practiced my technique by then. And by then have written my script. So once you've done these things, and hopefully eventually you eliminate your crutches and you're becoming more of yourself. Before I went on here, Michael Amar sent me some advice. He said, be yourself, because the more yourself you are, the less like anyone else you are. Right? And it was a beautiful word of advice. Thank you, Michael. And so if you do that, that really, really helps out. Here's something really cool. And I heard this from Juan Tamariz. You heard the phrase, Robert Houdin said, we're an actor playing the part of a magician. And Juan Tamariz in a lecture said something that just touched me so much. It was at Muhlenberg College. He was lecturing when Professor Haas had his philosophy of magic program there. He says, when I am on stage, I am not an actor. When I'm on stage is when I become the real Juan. And I thought that was so beautiful. It fundamentally changed the way I looked at my show. Literally up to that point, I was thinking, how can I play the part of a stage magician? How can I be a stage magician? And hearing that gave me the permission to be myself on stage. So now when I get to go on stage, I'm not trying to be somebody else. I'm given the permission to be more of myself than I can at any other time. I learned a lot from that lesson. So become more of yourself. That will take care of the me part. And then for the audience part, begin with interactive magic. Man, this makes life so much easier if you do this. If you're going to develop this into a business, focus on your private clients and over-deliver. I mean, literally, this is where you over-deliver. You saw what I did for the melting pot with the vanishing ink? Get creative. Start doing that for your clients. Over-deliver. And finally, routine your show to create the emotional memories. That's what you really want to do. You want to make a full impact, and you're going to do that not by concentrating on your tricks, on yourself, but focusing on your audience. So that's my advice for stage magic. Once again, my goal is that if just one thing, my dad told me, we grew up, so we immigrated to America, and you couldn't bring much with you. You could only bring 2 pieces of luggage with you per person. And so here's my family, my grandma, mom, dad, my sister, and myself. We're moving to a whole new country. We're starting a whole new life, and we can only bring 2 pieces of luggage per person and 50 pounds each. And what my parents did was they shipped boxes and boxes of books. They shipped all these books to New York, and then these books came from New York to Orlando, and in my parents' home still, there's a huge library. And I'm talking about Jack London and Shakespeare written in Russian, all the classics of literature. And it really, I grew up with that sentiment. I'm forever grateful that I grew up in the house of books. And my dad always said, the advice that his dad gave him, which is that if you get one thing out of this book, then it was worth the price. And so my goal with all of this advice is if you get one thing out of this lecture that helps you deliver on a more professional level, it will help us to elevate the art and allow us to change the way magic is perceived. We're living in an amazing time. People see magic on television. Their vocabulary of magic is starting to develop. They're starting to understand the different types of magic. And that's a part of my goal, is that you're watching this, that something here challenged you, something interested you to grow and develop and help you be a better magician so that you can make magic look better for the real public.
I'm clapping.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so very much.
I want to thank you, Kostya. I mean, you just gave us so much information that I think most of us have probably never heard of before, even thought of hearing before, and it's really important. If you're just starting out, or if you're a seasoned pro, you've all learned something from this, and this is something you'll be able to go back and watch again and again and again, And he said himself, reach out to him. Obviously he's here. So
absolutely. And it's also, this is what's beautiful about the video world is that who knows, someone who's watching this maybe 100 years from now, and maybe my brain is in a vat and is activated by computers, and I'm a 3D holograph, and maybe I can still interact with you. But if not, this is a chance that while I'm still living, breathing flesh, you can reach out to me, and you can contact me on Twitter, and you can find my website. It's coastchimmagic.com and cmagiclive.com. I encourage you that if you're a professional who wants to work with us, go on CMagic Live, create your profile on there. It's a free service that's up there, and we'll hopefully be making updates to it over the next years to come, and we'll be doing more shows. It's I feel very lucky to be doing this stuff.
You and your team also have a festival too, right?
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do a Festival of Magic in Orlando. We put that on. So if you want to be a part of that, if you check out right now OrlandoMagicMansion.com, you'll see an event that we put on. We've been doing this every year. It started off when I was doing the restaurant magic. We brought in all of our performers, and in order to certify all of the performers that they were good enough to work at the restaurants, I called my local restaurants where we were performing. And I said, hey, I know we're usually on for this Thursday, but guess what? I'm doing a seminar this week, so if you want, I can have 10 magicians perform, and I can go on the news and I can publicize this, and we can have all these people come to your restaurant. Of course, they loved that idea, so we did that, and that became a festival of magic, and this will be our 5th year doing this festival, and now it's in one particular location. And it was wonderful to leave the magic world, to stop lecturing, to stop hanging out with magicians, to stop all that stuff and go into the business world and do all this. And having run the restaurant business for 3 years, now it's really nice to kind of come back, to do this lecture, to connect to magicians around the world. And so I hope that as we continue doing this festival, that the people who are watching this will reach out to us, will come to Orlando, will be a part of it, will be a part of the shows, be on the news with us. This is all the stuff that we do. I want us all to be better. That's my ultimate goal.
Well, Coach Joe, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know everybody at home is doing the same thing.
Thank you very much.
Such an amazing lecture.
Thank you.
Real fast, I got to do a plug for next week.
Do it.
We have the one and only Shin Lim will be joining us.
I'm going to be at home with my deck of cards. I'm ready
there
to
you go.
Absolutely.
So Shin Lim will be with us next week. That's Coach Kimlat, guys. I'm Mike Hankins. This is At the Table. We'll see you next week, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.